EMEA, Marvel Rivals, essentially very first time in this region. I am your caster Zeus, joined by my co-caster Diatonic. Diatonic, how are we feeling?
I am excited. Ascension League has been a really hot community tournament since it came on the scene, and now we're looking at expanding out of NA to EMEA and to Latin America too. So 8 EMEA teams, 10 Latin American teams. The Ascension roster is expanding day by day, I feel like.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. It is truly an incredible tournament, and I'm excited to see how and where it goes. We are starting with some preliminary matches, and then it moves on to a more intense, tighter bracket. But the first match today, starting in just a couple minutes, is between Oblivione and Think Twice.
Yeah, it's a huge matchup. You know, Oblivione coming hot off of the Season 2 Marvel Rivals Championship, the champions in the EMEA region. And, you know, EXO has been around since really the inception of Rivals Esports, competing in MRCs, competing in community tournaments. So, you know, definitely no surprise to see them step up to the Ignite stage come September when Stage 2 starts. And Think Twice, definitely seen them around a lot too. Team out of Saudi Arabia, been competing in a lot of community tournaments, and they're a top MRC team as well. So it's really a heck of a card. A big lineup here for the first day of EMEA Ascension.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, an absolute clash of the titans here we are seeing for this literally first day of this tournament, and we're already starting off with a banger. Let's hope they don't get knocked out too soon, because otherwise it's going to be a boring rest of the tournament. But
no kidding.
I'm sure all the teams are brilliant.
Oh yeah, well, and it's a big endurance challenge here. You know, you got EXO and Think Twice starting us off.
Yeah.
You know, we've got other teams. You know, Dawncore is a team I've seen a lot. They're up in round 2 against Planet Sainage, and then Ascended and Groot FN. You know, we've got a lot of top MRC teams. So if you want to know like the who's who of who's going to be in Ignite next, who's going to be in that S tier level competition, you know, this is the place to watch for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got 3 matches this evening, so that's plenty of content of some really intense, some really high level, some really strategic Rivals gameplay for you guys to watch at home. And honestly, I'm just so pumped. I couldn't be more excited, and I really want to see what these teams have to offer.
Yeah, and you know, community tournament like this is where you get kind of a first glimpse of some of these teams as they're building towards that next step, you know, trying to evolve out of in-game factions or just, you know, 6 stacking for ranked games. You know, this is like the next level of competition for a lot of these teams. And, you know, we won't see them today, but Insomnia Esports is also on the roster. They competed in Ignite Stage 1, so these teams are going to get a brush with Ignite level competition right off the bat here. So huge opportunities for experience for a lot of these players.
Yeah, absolutely. It's truly incredible that we've been able to get so many high-level teams for this tournament. It's going to be so interesting and entertaining to watch. It's going to really show us how the meta's shifting, especially with the new season just coming out for Marvel Rivals tournaments themselves, with Ignite coming up the first LAN tournament. That's really going to display the current meta at such a high level, because teams are really able to solve it really quickly, and it's just going to give us a picture of the competitive scene looking forward that I don't think any tournament's really been able to offer yet.
Yeah, we're so early on in Season 3 now. This is going to be one of the first opportunities to see where these teams are at in terms of new metagame. You know, new hero Phoenix. I'm hearing maybe a game changer. Some people I'm seeing are putting her at like A tier in terms of DPS. You know, I'm curious to see how she stacks up. A hero with a gimmick like hers, where, you know, if you're fighting a team that's constantly stacking up and going in on objectives all 6 stacked up, you know, it's really easy to burst that whole team down. But the question I have about that new meta and this new hero is, how does she handle a one-on-one? You know, not as many opportunities for high damage, but I'm really curious to see how teams are reacting to so much new content in the game already.
Yeah, and I mean, it's truly a unique season in that it's so clear what the best combination of characters is. You want that thing because Thing's pretty good now. Like, it seems crazy, but if you've got a Wolverine is so busted this season. You can work with him so well. Then you want a Phoenix, you're looking at a Loki or a Rocket, and then like an Invisible Woman, really good off support right now, especially because she just got a healing buff. Then, I mean, DPS wise, you're a bit flexible, but like Wolverine and Phoenix, both so strong, both so broken, and I believe we're about to head into the match as we speak.
Yeah, it's interesting. There is definitely kind of a clear field of heroes that you're going to see at this competitive level, beyond ranked, beyond quick play. And you may see some things that may surprise you, and every region is so different. Obviously I'm from NA, I'm an NA guy in terms of geolocation, but, all these regions play things out so differently. So we are underway here. Game number 1 between Oblivione and Think Twice. Picks and bans coming in now, and of course we are on the advanced ban system, very similar to Ignite. So if you haven't seen this yet, teams are choosing heroes to ban for each other. So heroes that Oblivione bans means that Think Twice can't play them, but Exo still could if they so chose. So lots of strategy, lots of opportunities for some aggressive bans and some target banning for sure.
Yeah, and this definitely works to create such asymmetric gameplay. We're seeing the early ban onto Magneto and Johnny Storm, followed by a save of Emma. Oblivione about to choose their second ban, and this banning system really forces asymmetric matches, which is really interesting from a mechanical and competitive perspective, because you can have a hard counter in that, and if you've banned right, there's nothing your opponents can do about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of winning and losing in the pick and ban phase, and definitely gives your coaching staff some opportunity to shine. Let your playbook see what it's capable of, and yeah, like you said, Zeus, that Magneto ban there. Magneto and Emma Frost season 2 were definitely both pick or ban heroes. If they don't get banned, then someone or both teams are going to pick them. And, Think Twice is taking advantage of it here, banning out that Magneto and taking the Emma right away. So, we're going to be seeing some crazy Vanguard action already. But Oblivione is going to save the Luna Snow. Probably not a bad idea. I do see a lot of people opt for just banning her outright if teams are leaning more into the banning strategist preference for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this level, you've got players with such consistent aim that Luna Snow, she can 3 or 2 tap a lot of heroes, especially divers, and being able to deal with that properly as a flanker is so valuable. We're going to see both teams have saved Emma. Interestingly, that's almost certainly going to lead to a mirror match. With the ban on Loki coming from Think Twice, that's potentially a lot of valuable resources if Oblivione don't ban Loki, which I don't think they're going to be able to, as Think Twice are saving him. Even though he got the nerf to his ultimate, he is still one of the best strategists in the game. He's able to do so much.
Yeah, and a huge opportunity for T2 there, with that Loki being the second save. You can, a lot of Lokis will just copy a support sustain ult, which makes perfect sense to me. But you have an opportunity to copy the Emma Frost ult and get a double psionic seduction in there. So definitely going to be looking for some nasty control plays on the side of Think Twice here. But there are your picks and bans. They're in, and yeah, I would say pretty standard stuff. No real drastic changes from season 2 to 3, at least on this first map here for picks and bans.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see if teams are going to run the Phoenix Wolverine team up, because that's open, and a lot of people, in ranked at least, have been saying it's really strong, it's really busted. Interestingly, they're not running it. I'm genuinely a bit shocked here, but I guess the day 1 nerfs to Wolverine really made people change their minds. I mean, Psylocke here is still going to be really good. Lucky as well.
Stay strong.
I mean, I'm just excited to see what these teams are able to pull out here. This looks like some pretty strong setups from both teams. They had very similar bans in the end, but have gone for quite different comps. So I'm excited to see how that mirrors up, how they shift their organization as the match progresses.
Yeah, absolutely, and and we do have a Phoenix over on the side of Think Twice, so we're gonna get to see some new stuff here. If you haven't seen her yet, you're in for a show for sure here. But I think for the most part, I think maybe we're still early on enough that teams either are playing it a little safe still or not quite ready to commit to some new strats. Maybe need a little more time to cook here, but we are on the way. Yggdrasil path, some convoy action for map number 1 here, and the strat I've seen a lot, Zeus, now is offensive teams like to stay back around that first curve there, take the high ground for themselves, and let the attacking team kind of walk into an ambush.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's such a thin chokehold there that you can really pressure teams and stop them making any progress once they've got there. Interestingly, Oblivion haven't pushed all the way up, trying to hold the point initially. They've given Team Fight a lot of space here, which they are taking. And they've already pushed up like about halfway through first point, but it's the second half of this first point.
Yeah, there's an interesting ebb and flow on this map in terms of what side has the advantage on the track there. And obviously right out of the gate here, Think Twice taking a big advantage of the offensive plays here. A triple kill there already for Etsu on the side of Oblivione. Very nice plays.
Yeah, and I mean, absolutely. They're going to be looking for that reset with the second impact. Trying to find it on the Strange here, and will manage to hit, but I don't think it's going to get another kill. It will draw out a lot of cooldowns from their opponents though, as we face the next part of this fight. Support strategist trying to heal, trying to keep the backline there, as tries slowly pushing up, slowly taking space. The Emma Frostal coming out, trying to push it up their opponent's back. Doesn't manage to get a Sainage link onto anyone, but it's going to create a lot of space for Think Twice. As Emma overcommits, and I believe dies. The Sainage ultimate coming out in the backline. The invisible boundary popping up onto the objective. Oh, two invisible boundaries, one on the objective, one fight back. This is really good hold here from the defending team.
Yeah, you know, a lot of it is about bending and not breaking. You know, you can take some hits and take a couple picks here and there, but it's more about how you react following it up, you know, especially when it comes to ultimate economy. You know, you can blow every ult you have to take control of the payload and kind of get yourself back in the fight, but you have to think a couple steps ahead. What do you do when you're in control of it? How do you continue to hold once you get control of the objective? You know, it's all about the ebb and flow of the match, and these two teams having so much experience, I expect to see both of them playing to that flow of the match.
Yeah, absolutely. And Think Twice having a major advantage in the ult coming in. Kraken Impact is already back in line as they use it. It's invisible bounty gets popped. It got popped last fight. That's incredible rotation. Lunar Snow, Fate of Both Worlds getting popped. Trying to just keep both teams alive here. There haven't been any deaths in the fight here, so the Scots clearly doing their job. But the Stranger comes out, manages to land one kill, but it's not going to be enough. They're not going to find a second, and I believe that was Emma found just now, as Oblivione are getting pushed quite far back. Think Twice making a lot of progress, making a lot of distance here on the objective, but it gets retaken, it gets recountered. Stranger coming out, trying to stun the opponents, trying to find some value, but the Immortality Totem from Loki stopping it. Psylocke ultimate manages to find 2 kills, not quite a third, but it's a close one thing, this.
Yeah, you know, big Eye of Agamotto for Think Twice. That just wasn't followed up on as much as I expected. You know, it looked like they got 3 stuns there out of that, but just not as many picks. So, you know, not a bad ult for sure, but a little bit of a missed opportunity. But Think Twice definitely not letting that hold them back here. Continuing on the track, they're about 3/4 of the way there for that first checkpoint and that all-important time refresh as they're under 30 seconds now.
Yeah, absolutely. 30 seconds. Not as you expect normally on these push maps where teams are so well coordinated on attacks to get most of the way, but we might see a reflection in this sort of lack of progress from Oblivione as they attack, but I wouldn't expect any less than what the performance Oblivione put up so far this match from a team that literally won MRC and EMEA very easily, as Think Twice finally get some progress, but 5 ults have been popped this fight so far. The Strange ult coming out with the Psylocke, I believe, manages to find a kill, and Kraken Impact manages to get a kill onto a backline strategist, and they're just making so much progress now. They're getting so much value as the time runs out for Think Twice, and Oblivione hold that first point incredible.
Time to switch things up.
Yeah, and beautiful chaining of those support ults there, the invisible barrier and the Fate of Both Worlds at the end to kind of just give the team the last sustain that they needed to kind of hold there. So yeah, really, really strong hold from EXO to kind of kick things off on this first map. You know, it can be a little offense coded at least on the first half or so, but EXO, you know, they're very good at rising to the occasion like that. Like you see, you know, teams always present challenges for each other and ask questions of one another, and the match really comes down to how do you answer those questions and how do you respond to what the other team is doing. And I mean, ultimately, so far, EXO's showing that, yeah, you know, they're a little familiar with Think Twice. This is not the first time these two teams have crossed paths, but they are definitely showing what an MRC champion and an incoming Ignite competitor are capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Oblivione here on attack now, swapping to. Oh wait, think twice on attack here, swapping to what I believe was Captain America. That's going to be interesting. I believe they're undecided on their cups though, so it'll be interesting to see what they pop out as that timer runs down, as the match starts. We're seeing the think twice set up here, trying to take that high ground, trying to hold the same corner their opponents just did. Interesting meta for this map seems to have emerged with these comps at least, and Loki instantly trying to deal a lot of damage through their clones.
Yeah, and I see a couple of change-ups here. I do see a potentially a Spider-Man pick. Maybe not going to lock that in for sure. They can't decide yet, but you know, of course, waiting on those doors to open, you never know what the last-minute swap is going to be to keep these teams on their toes. But you're 100% right. The meta on this map on Yggdrasil Path has changed a lot. You know, in the beginning of Rivals back in Season 0, it was kind of like, how hard can you push your opponents into the spawn and keep them right there? But, you know, teams discovered that the war of attrition, at least on the side of offense, is really easy to win when you hold them in their spawn that's right next to the payload. So, yeah, a lot more kind of breathing room here for these offensive teams as the game and as the meta has evolved.
Yeah, T2K absolutely destroying that silence, looking for flankers, looking for ways to pressure that backline or stop pressure coming to theirs. Playing as a tank should, but nowhere near their support. As the Kraken impact comes out, managed to find 2 kills, I believe. Looking for a reset, looking to find more value, doesn't quite manage it, but I think twice on both supportals. As do Oblivione, this is going to be an interesting fight, probably quite long if all the supporters are popped, but if a team saves the supportal, they've got a massive advantage going into the next fight. As Emma Frost popping that diamond form, trying to deal some damage, trying to pressure their opponents away, the invisible boundary coming up, locking out the objective for Think Twice as Oblivione make a lot of progress. The Kraken impact coming out onto Think Twice, but is blocked by the invisible boundary from Ash. Invisible Kraken impact coming out again though. Emma Frost ultimate trying to come out, trying to find some a psychic connection onto their opponents, does not quite manage it, but there's still a lot of pressure and forces their opponents to use their resources quite a lot. The 3 ults coming out from Oblivione as they absolutely decimate their competition. They're not even going to be able to touch the Winter Soldier, as that is the first match and first game and an incredibly quick one. 1-2 Oblivione.
Yeah, setting world records for fastest Yggdrasil path on broadcast for sure. Very strong showing on map number 1 there for Exo. You know, throwing out a couple of ults here and there to just try and test the waters a little bit, make Think Twice get on the back foot and start having to use their resources. And with a nice few picks there at the end, that goes all Oblivione's in Oblivione's favor, and they are up 1 map to nothing there, as of course we've seen the Winter Soldier MVP screen a number of times if you keep up with competitive rivals. But Etsu clocking a 21 elims and 16 final hits and a pile of medals to go along with it. So insane stuff there from the DPS line of Oblivione. Allegator, of course, very, very solid Psylocke player, showing off quite a bit there. But man, Winter Soldier, Etsu coming in clutch for Oblivione on map 1.
Yeah, and I mean, this absolutely shows the power of having one really good player on a strong character in the meta and just letting them have a creative space, letting them basically have a playground where they can decimate their opponents, run the lobby. They're entirely focused on shielding them, letting them get the pulls they need, letting them get the grapples they need. And Alligator, not necessarily there to get kills, although they were getting a couple, but more there to draw out their opponent's attention, force them to look differently at how they play the game, force them to position in awkward ways that really just open up opportunity and space for Etsu. And I mean, we saw how well it did. That's some incredible stats.
Yeah, I mean, really anchoring off of Etsu, and I've seen Oblivione do that before. You know, they have looked to him in a lot of situations there, and definitely delivered. You know, Think Twice, I think, you know, maybe kind of just getting the jitters out a little bit, warming up. You know, this is their first appearance here in the Ascension League, like all these EMEA teams, and DPS a little slow there, but they did manage to pick up a couple things here and there. Their healers are really on point. They had more than 50k heals, I believe, combined between the two supports there from QB and Crazy. So their backline is doing their job. They just need DPS to pick up the pace a little bit here, maybe get a couple more picks, and be careful with those resources. I saw I think it was Sector that activated the Luna Snow ult first, kind of put Think Twice on the back foot and got a couple of ults out of them that they maybe didn't necessarily need. So it's all about that resource game and trying to hold on to everything you've got until you absolutely need it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole Lucio better beat debate where is it better to use your support ult first or second? And the answer is, how much value can you counter with it? It's in most cases better to use it second, but in some cases, if you've just seen they're about to use 3 ults, they're positioning for the next for a dive, pop the support ult, they suddenly can't. They have to wait way longer to play the game a little bit more. And when you're on attack, when you have control of the objective, that is just so useful. That gives you a ton of free space that the enemy team don't necessarily have to give, as we saw in that second part of that match.
Yeah, when you only clear 3/4 of the first checkpoint, you don't have a lot of opportunities. You want to give yourself that breathing room for your team to be able to kind of regroup and take things slowly. But at a certain point, if you got 1 or 2 people picked off and you've only got 30 or 40 meters total of space to run, you just don't have time to wait. And so you can get swept up in the flow really quickly. And I think that's pretty much what we saw from Think Twice there. So I do believe we're loading up map number 2 here for one of my personal favorites, Hell's Heaven. And for some teams, this map truly is hell, and for some of them, it is truly heaven. So curious to see how Think Twice thinks about this one.
Yeah, this is honestly one of my personal favorite maps. I really like the compositions it forces, the play style it chooses to make people play, because it really advantages characters with high vertical mobility. So dive and really fast brawl both work so incredibly well, while it makes flyers decent, but not nearly as strong as they would be in such a defended map. Normally, we're seeing the stave on Johnny Storm the ban of Johnny Storm from Oblivione, which makes a lot of sense. Johnny Storm's still incredibly strong and able to do a lot of damage and a lot within games. Emma Frost being saved by Think Twice makes a lot of sense. She can really CC enemies, she can really stun them and force them to play in awkward ways or not encroach on the point at all.
Yeah, a map like Hell's Heaven, there's a lot of close quarters, there's a lot of narrow corridors, and heroes like, Human Torch that can drop a supernova and just turn a hallway into hell itself, or, a hero like Emma Frost where, you get the team all bunched up into one of those hallways or into a doorway and you just let the Psionic Seduction fly. Think Twice definitely is wanting to take advantage of that, but Oblivione too, saving the Johnny Storm there, so flame on for them this game. Gonna be interesting to see how those two clash here. And there's a lot of ambushing, I think, on this map. There's a lot of places where you can just pop out, surprise the enemy team at the last second. So it's a very kind of quick reactionary map that really requires you to have your head in the game for sure.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. The Magneto ban from Oblivione making a lot of sense there. That's a really good character for bubbling a diver, bubbling someone who's hanging, and it means the tank doesn't necessarily have to peel to help a support out. The Mantis save really interesting, potentially looking to play Venom high health characters where Mantis's percentile healing is so strong and so useful.
Yeah, going for those higher health pool heroes, the Venom and the Emma Frost together is kind of crazy for sure. And yeah, if they do end up taking that Mantis into play, but maybe, at least for me personally, maybe one of the first times I've seen the Mantis save. So that should be pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, I wasn't expecting much Mantis this season. I wasn't expecting to see it a whole ton, because she's good independently, but she doesn't have that much synergy with other strategists aside from Adam. But Adam's kind of weaker right now, especially with the nerf to his res recently. But I mean, they're absolutely going to make it work, and I'm excited to see how they play around it, how they use things like that sleep, her really high utility, as Cloak and Dagger is saved for Think Twice, and the final ban from Oblivione being Loki. They saw Think Twice using Loki quite a lot last game,
Pick your
and
hero.
I mean, I
Or
can't blame
villain,
them.
I'm
Loki
not
is
judging.
arguably the best support in the game right now.
Yeah, and you cannot let him get away with the Emma Frost clone, especially on the save. So, interestingly, nothing out of the ban spread that Think Twice sent to EXO, it would stop a triple res comp, and that may be what we're seeing here as Sector, at least for now, is locking in that Adam Warlock. That Mantis save definitely tips me off a little bit that maybe we're going to see some Guardians comp here. It's been a thing for so long now, and so many of these competitive teams do take advantage of it. Like Sentinels, for example, at least in NA, have made it kind of their signature comp. So they may have an opportunity to break that out here, and question if Think Twice knows how to play around this thing or has the ability to play around this thing. It's a big question. It's a really beefy comp at the end of the day that's just so hard to actually keep down for very long.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're going to see Oblivione choosing to run Spider-Man here. And the triple support with a Loki, Mantis, and Adam. I would not want to face that. That sounds horrible to play into. Ash swapping to Wolverine, though. I think that makes a lot of sense. Still an incredibly strong team up, but composition, especially able to take those divers. Captain America on the opposing side. That's going to have to be really frustrating to play into. As Strange Portal coming out from Turisi from Oblivione's side.
Yeah, what separates a good Strange player from a great Strange player is that portal usage. And sometimes, you see these offensive portals just dropping half the team off the cliff at the start here. But EXO just wants to use it to take the fight straight to him on the point. Not even open yet, but we're ready to fight. This is Marvel Rivals. We're just ready to go at it here before we even have a real reason to. So very curious to see Think Twice struggle on the convoy map there. Gonna be interested to see how they handle some static objectives here on Hell's Heaven for some domination action.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Think Twice, Captain America really rolling that backline, just diving with the help of that Psylocke, able to get a lot of damage off, and 3 kills were done or made possible by T2 Kai, an incredible tank player, able to know when to dive, and brilliant timing there. Oblivione did manage to get a forced rotate from their opponents, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, and dive has never truly gone away, even when the flyer meta in Season 2 came in, but you don't see it as much now, and sometimes it takes teams a little bit to kind of reallocate themselves to how do you play around dive, and between the Cap and the Psylocke and the Bucky over on Think Twice, they're looking to change things up here and kind of reevaluate this whole match and see how Oblivione responds to a pretty significant change in team comp, I would say, from map 1 to map 2.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're going to see that T2 Free-Rise trying to find some value, trying to find an elimination here. Won't quite manage it, but it is going to be just a long fight, and that's really good from Think Twice's perspective. They're already at 50% of the objective and counting still, as Oblivione just can't find an opening, can't find a crack to exploit.
Yeah, and a big ult economy advantage from them too. They played that neutral game insanely well, and they're about to have 6 ults charged up to EXO's 4 here. So, on paper at least, they have a little bit of an advantage, and V-Rise is going to let that Kraken impact go to kind of kick things off here. EXO responding very quickly with a Psionic Seduction, but it doesn't look like they latched on to anybody here. So, 75% and counting is a really nice first capture on an objective point, on a domination point, for sure.
Absolutely. I think 92% of the game's ultimates were just top. Strange having a lot of dark energy there, able to exploit it and managing to find a kill that is both supports dead. Think Twice is going to be a essentially uphill battle from Oblivione's perspective now, as they take so many of their opponents down. This is just going to be a huge stagger from Think Twice's perspective. But they are now at 90%. They have 3-4 fights to fully reset, fully approach their opponents, and they only need to win one of them in order to take this map.
Yeah, that's their work cut out for them for sure here. Like you said, they just need to really win one of these fights. But EXO's got a lot of work to do here. Though, fortunately for them, Think Twice expended a lot of resources just to try and hold on to get that 99 hold. So, of course, definitely important to get yourself that last tick there. But, Think Twice just didn't have anything to follow up, like we talked about before. When you get control of that point, when you hold it, you have to think about the future of how do I keep a hold of this thing after we win this fight. And, you saw after Think Twice used basically 5, 6 ults. They all started falling one by one, and now EXO is in the driver's seat here, taking control of this match back for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see both support, or both teams of support pocketing each other, just trying to stay alive, as the backlines leave each other just undefended in order to dive. And we're seeing some progress from Oblivione here, but Think Twice are not quite able to hold as they get further and further back. Wolverine manages to kind of kill as Emma does, and it's just a massacre. It's just horrible. If you're Think Twice fan right now.
Yeah, massive value there for Ash out of that Wolverine ult, and now, you know, EXO's still holding on to 3. Think Twice has 4 ults and a 5th one there, the Cloak and Dagger, you know, waiting in the wings and ready to go. So again, this is a big opportunity for Think Twice, and if you're staring at that many ults and you're ready for a team fight, you know, that's the time to let all your resources fly. At 99%, you know, they just need to win one fight here, but EXO's done a great job holding on to what little space of that ledge they have, you know, fingers dangling off the cliff here on point number 1, but they're holding it for now.
Yeah, absolutely. Emma Crossroads coming out pretty early on the invincible boundary from both overlapping their abilities. Everyone's slow and invincible. Strange with the Sailor coming out. Strange does fall as Think Twice retake the objective. They only need to hold for a little bit longer. Will Oblivione even be able to touch with that Venom? And I don't think they will, as Think Twice take the first point on Hell's Haven. Certainly not being held for either team right now. That was an incredibly close game.
Yeah, I mean, really the only hell here is that it's a hell of a point number 1. You know, we still have a lot of map to be played here, but already, you know, 99-99 overtime on point number 1. That's how you know you are in for a good map. So Think Twice, definitely disadvantaged maps overall so far, but a very scrappy team and not willing to kind of let that mental game get the better of them here. You know, obviously, definitely not decided. I wouldn't necessarily say Think Twice has this map locked down, but impressive stuff for them. Able to come back from a pretty big breakup about halfway through that second point when they lost control finally. But, you know, there's still a lot of work to be done here on the side of Think Twice. But I think so far, I would say that the swap over to a more dive-heavy comp has worked out in their favor. EXO hasn't changed up too much of their strategy yet, and you know, in a game like Marvel Rivals, you want to be kind of fluid with your strategy. You want to be versatile and not get stuck on something that's not working for you there. So Etsu's going to rotate through a couple of different strategists here as we get underway, going to point number 2. But now the question is, what does EXO do about this this wild comp that Think Twice has brought to the table here that helped them get control of this match?
Yeah, I mean, trying with the strange pull to get again, trying to push in. Sector does manage to get a kill on T Tracy very early on in this fight, and Think Twice are just rotating to the objective as both teams are. They're fighting from each other's spawns. That's really funny. Trying to find an opening here, trying to find an opportunity to dive that backline. Waiting for their opponent's using cooldowns as he's already popped. He's already popped Freedom Charge, able to provide his team with a lot of overhealth and hold them in that fight a little bit longer. And looking for a dive into the backline as invisible boundary is popped, but into an Emma Frost ultimate. No one quite died. It's just Titans punching each other with infinite health almost. As Missouri trying to find some value, trying to build up dark energy to make a play, but the other invisible boundary coming out from I think Twice's side, trying to deal some damage to Sainage in the objective on the point. 3 deaths so far, only one of them having gone to Think Twice, but for us from Oblivione, having a lot of charge, having a lot of damage here, and able to apply so much pressure. And the long to make these other invisible boundaries so it kind of has done the best move roster so far, as the Emma Frost coming out with that strange ult. That's going to be a lot of damage on Think Twice's backline, but the Psylocke ultimate managing to get 2 kills, 3 kills total for that Psylocke, as Think Twice finally take the point. But that fight felt like it took a century.
Yeah, and it all goes wrong at the last second for EXO there. You saw the Eye of Agamotto from Missouri made its mark. A couple of Think Twice members getting stunned there, but then they just started wiping the floor with Oblivione. Just pick after pick there. 5, 6 members, almost a complete ace, letting Think Twice get control. And I think the story of this map so far has been the comeback from Think Twice. You know, they bounced back that first map really quick, really kind of a heartbreaker to open up Season 2 of that Ascension League for T2, and now it's almost like a completely different team. Like they've woken up here and they're ready for a fight. But EXO coming into this one with 3 ults. I'm curious to see if that is going to be enough to help them take control at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to see Alligator trying to get some CC off, trying to get his opponents to slow down, because this has been such a fast fight. The invisible bounty pop, yeah, again, it was pop blast fight as Haster walking into a wall. I believe there's been some connection issues as the match is paused, and it's unpaused very quickly. That has to feel rough for Think Twice, dying and losing a fight just because of some lag. That sucks, man.
Always glad to help.
Yeah, you know, and I've seen a lot of technical difficulties in a lot of matches lately, and you know, unfortunately, Think Twice, they are a Saudi Arabian team, I believe, so against EXO, you know, there is some distance here, and there is some latency that they have to take into account, and I have to wonder if that played a part in that pause, unfortunately unseating them. But at least that first cap got them almost 60% here, and they do have a little bit of an ult economy advantage, so overall, you know, point not in their control right now. EXO's got that on lock, but it's definitely not looking too far down for Think Twice here, as they're just looking for some way to engage and get another fight rolling.
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, Oblivione Strange really looking to ult here. I've been saving it, cooking it for so long. I don't think he quite used it there, surprisingly, but I mean, he threw out a lot of their opponents. Forced them didn't even touch the point at all as the Clipping Dagger ultimate coming out, but they die in the ultimate. Oh my gosh, that was some incredible damage from Oblivione just stacked on there as Think Twice trying to punch up. The immortality token from Loki popped off. That is popped up. That is an essential cooldown used quite early on. Wolverine really coming into that backline, trying to take away that Emma, and doesn't quite work. Emma does get low, but this is going to fall. And, I mean, Oblivione do hold the objective still at 65%.
Now I see them.
Yeah, kind of a white knuckle hold for them there. Definitely looked a little bit rocky, but still in control, 70% and charging on here. But at least in terms of ult economy, Think Twice does have some opportunity here to take advantage of that. And, you know, like you said, Missouri holding on to that Eye of Agamotto as long as possible. But we've seen a couple missed opportunities with it, and they're looking to maybe not let that happen again, as they need to take this thing to a third point, and they might just do it almost 90% of the way there for EXO. A really big first hold on this point for them, but Think Twice not going to give up. I mean, they got a lot of resources they can expend here to try and get back in control.
Absolutely, both teams having popped into the boundary already. That's going to be an essential cooldown for both teams. Missouri finally uses Strange ultimate and doesn't find a kill, but We Rise on Bucky does manage to use that ultimate to find several kills over the course of that fight, and that's really going to flip it. That really demonstrates the power that one player can have. When you give them a bit of forward momentum, they just start taking a mile. And I believe they got 3 or 4 kills from that. But Think Twice are on an ultimate deficit here, only having the Cloak and Dagger ultimate, as their opponents have 2, almost 3 actually, for this next fight.
Yeah, it took a ton of resources, but you know, I gotta give shout outs to We Rise on that Bucky. You know, Think Twice kind of using him as their anchor now, just as Oblivione did, and beautiful stuff using the Kraken Impact to hit the Loki clones from Sector over on EXO to keep that ultimate alive. You know, knocking out a Loki clone with a Kraken Impact also resets that ult. So just trying to keep it going and keep that that what was a quadra kill maybe up even higher, but no more kills for him. And now you know, only 1 ult for each. Oh no, excuse me, 2 ults on the side of Think Twice, but not a lot of resources for either team here. 99-99 once again. Think Twice in the driver's seat though here, finding some picks, but EXO turns it around very quickly. They're going to take control, and nobody for Think Twice is standing on this point now. Overtime going to tick down, and that is going to wrap up point number 2. So Oblivione flaps back there, and we're going to see this map all the way to the end.
Yeah, Cap trying to touch at the very end there just gets booped away by Invisible and then killed by Stranger's Dark Energy at the very end. We are going on to point 3. This is a very different match to game to the first one, because I mean, first one was an absolute roll towards the side of Oblivione, but Think Twice have really upped their game. They've really figured out how to manipulate this meta, how to force the picks and bans to their favor, and how to play properly. They definitely had a serious amount of potential, but Oblivione really shaping it up here, really changing it back into a triple support comp with Etsu and Sector on Adam and Mantis respectively. That's going to deal a lot of damage. That's going to be a big threat. And Alligator swapping from that Bucky onto the Johnny Storm. I mean, they are countered by both of their opponents' support, damage players, but Johnny Storm is so strong and is able to output so much damage and apply so much pressure and control so much space that I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder if Think Twice is thinking twice about not banning Human Torch in that pick and ban phase at the start of this map. You know, this could end up being a big regret depending on how Ole pulls this thing off. But he has shown a lot of prowess as a DPS player, putting up crazy numbers in past matches that I've seen EXO play in. So, you know, fully expecting to see something similar there as this is point number 3, and it is do or die for Think Twice being a best of 3. They've got to win this point or the match goes to Oblivione.
Strange Bottle coming back out hasn't worked the past 2 points, but they're still going to try it. They're still going to try force it to work. As I mean, it's worked pretty well so far. They've managed to get 3-4 kills already, and I mean, they've already just taken the point. Think Twice, knowing that they don't want to stagger themselves, just resetting instantly. Both teams having tools, but Think Twice closer to 2 than their opponents Oblivione. That's going to be potentially interesting into this next fight, as it's likely going to be quite a long one. If Think Twice don't play aggressively enough, they have the supports to do so, and their opponents don't. But it can be quite difficult to track supporters in this game, so they might not be aware of it. Alligator managing to find 2 kills off the back of that strange Eye of Agamotto ultimate, as TK with Freedom Charge trying to push in, trying to take that Adam down, and they managed to trying to push back on their opponents, taking the objective, as Oblivione only managed to find 28% total there. But Kai is going to take a hefty amount of damage from that Emma Crystal.
Yeah, a lot smaller of an opening first take than we've seen on Hell's Heaven this matchup so far. But, you know, it's a lot about the impact of what ults you've got. And Think Twice have got 2 support ults waiting in the wings for them. Sector getting stunned there, and the Cloak and Dagger ult starting off that sustain pretty strong. I see a Psionic Seduction there from Haster on the side of Think Twice, and that is turning the tide in their favor as they're going to take the lead here in just a second in terms of capture percentage. You know, bouncing back from a very quick early loss after EXO started off with that strange portal, and Jim finishes off the triple kill there. Another nice pick, a quad there for his Psylocke with the ult still ready to go. Dance of the Butterflies, doesn't even need it there, just can hit a clip there on his own left clicks only here, as EXO is going to have to reset. 50% almost captured now for Think Twice.
An aptly named ultimate, as they were just dancing circles around their opponents. But will they be able to keep it up? Will they be able to hold the point there? Currently at 40%, and they've held so far forward. If Oblivione managed to find a back alley, managed to find a way to touch on that point by flanking, it might force Think Twice to rotate completely. But they don't seem to have. Think Twice have pushed back of their own accord, as Freedom Charge is popped alongside the Psylocke ultimate and Bucky ultimate, trying to find Bowie, trying to find the loom, managing to get 3 resets so far. And I mean, they've still got another. They're still probably looking to kill them on the high ground here, as they get booped by the Invisible One. That was a nasty use of a 5-second cooldown. And I mean, jeez, this Bucky is destroying Oblivione, as they're almost at 100% already. And I don't think their opponents can even touch. They are just about going to manage it. But the Bucky reset, this is gonna have lasted for 2 fights now. Not managing to find another reset. Oh, except they are. It goes through the immortality to it. That is a broken interaction. Stringer managing to touch back onto the objective for Oblivione. I don't think it's going to be enough at the end, as although Tasha goes down as does a support, I believe, and I mean, Oblivione did manage to turn that around, but it wasn't without a hefty amount of ultimates used and resources lost. Trying to reconnect onto the objective here is Think Twice.
Yeah, and in case you missed it, and you've never seen it before, Marvel Rivals does have a multi-kill higher than a hexa-kill. It's unstoppable, and that is We Rise, armed and dangerous on that Bucky. But EXO taking control here in spite of the huge losses they may have suffered. They're over 50% of the way there as they're taking control of this match. But Think Twice has shown they never let EXO have the advantage for too long here. In spite of their status, an MRC champion, Think Twice is rising to the occasion here. Last few seconds of overtime, another triple kill for Realize, and that wraps up Hell's Heaven, an upset here on map number 2 for Think Twice as they manage to grasp victory from what may have looked like the draws of defeat there at the very end. Crazy stuff from T2.
Absolutely. I mean, a team absolutely here set on proving themselves, showing what they're capable of. I genuinely, after that first game, thought this was just going to be a sweep, really fast one and done type deal, but it's absolutely not been. It has absolutely shifted towards the favor of Think Twice, as Oblivione were doing a lot of, were winning a lot of fights. They were doing a lot of things right, but Think Twice were just able to find the flaw that they were already exploiting last game and really dig in there, really break open their opponents, and I mean, they dominated there. Looking at the stats, T2 We Rise on 23 elims and 8 deaths.
Yeah, absolutely insane stuff. 23 final hits, and you know how far ahead they were in that match because We Rise wasn't even the MVP of the match. It was Kai and those crazy Captain America plays. Cap player, love to see that, but just insane stuff from T2. It's like a completely different match now. Map number 1, very quick win. Something I expected to see from an MRC champion caliber team. And now Think Twice saying, don't count us out just yet because this is a full set here in the very first series of the Ascension League Season 2, and we're already going to Game 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to see how these teams play next. They're just choosing their next map, I believe, which is Oblivione's pick, and I'm excited to see how they approach this, what they decide to play, because it truly makes or breaks the rest of the match for them. Being able to choose the map is such a strong advantage because teams have lineups, they have specific plays and comps they want to be running, and if you know you're good on a map, you choose that map to play on, to push on. I believe we're just going on a short break for the players to go to the loo, which who can blame them? After that, I don't know how you could think about anything.
Yeah, I need like a little fan or like a rag or something to dab the sweat off because I'm just watching and I'm sweating here. It's kind of nuts, Very first matchup here. And, I've seen Think Twice a little bit. EXO has been around for a long time, so we've got a lot of tape of them and know a lot about that team. So, what you may have thought coming in was on paper maybe going to be a win for Oblivione, and now we're going all the way to Game 3. I mean, Think Twice has really made Oblivione think twice about this matchup, and we saw kind of the change up there. T2 opted for a little bit more dive, and it really paid off, and EXO hasn't really had a response to it yet. I like that they leaned a little bit more into the res comp. They went with the Adam Warlock and the Mantis. I feel like that's not a bad choice in the face of something like dive, but just not enough to kind of bounce back. So now the question is, what do we go back to the drawing board and come up with next?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's incredible to think of how dynamic this the Marvel Rivals esports scene is. I mean, we've just seen Oblivione, a team that won MRC really recently and was at a time arguably the best team in the world, just struggling against Think Twice, who are still an incredibly respectable team, top 16 MRC EMEA, not to be scoffed at. But on paper, it should not work. It should not even be close. But I mean, Think Twice really showing what they're capable of and showing that they are able to fight at that top level against some of, or if not the best teams in the world.
Yeah, and that's like putting the training weights on. It makes you so much better at the game very quickly by playing against teams that are at a higher caliber than you yourself. And I'm kind of addicted to Rivals Esports. I've watched pretty much every single match of Ignite Stage 1, and so far the story of Rivals Esports has really been subverting everyone's expectations. There were a lot of tier lists published before that Ignite competition kicked off, and a lot of people were surprised. In the EMEA region, teams like Virtus Pro that were dubbed untouchable, you can't lay a scratch on these guys, they fell to Rad Esports in week number 1. And so, over and over again, just like in this matchup, we see that, what you think you may know about these teams, sometimes they really come out and surprise you. So, I'm with you. That first match, I saw, okay, EXO, really strong team. It's going to be a hard match. But now, Think Twice has really made me rethink this whole match. And now, we got a whole series on our hands here. I mean, it's a treat. Game 3 in the first series of the entire league is you can't ask for much more as a caster. So I'm excited to jump back in and see what map EXO wants to take us to this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really an incredible display, an incredible performance from both teams here, using very similar comps, but T2 really having that signature Captain America and the value of being able to run an off-meta hero really well to like MVP levels of play is so strong in Marvel Rivals, and most people wouldn't realize it, but the value of that is you kind of force your opponents to either ban that character that's really messing up your backline, who is off meta, and allow your opponents to choose someone who is within the meta and even stronger, or you just let them get away with it, at which point you're facing what is truly a horrible comp to be against. We saw it with Cafe Noir and Black Panther. It's so good at just decimating their opponents, and teams were banning Black Panther because of it. But as soon as you do that, that's 3 other meta DPS that you've not banned that your opponents can just run.
Yeah, you kind of have to weigh your options. It's like, do you want to fight the off meta that you may not be familiar with, or do you want the devil that the meta champs that devastate almost every team that comes up against them? So I feel like a lot of it is kind of game knowledge. It comes from how do you play around these heroes that you don't see too often. Is it more scrims? Is it more practicing off broadcast? But it's a very interesting question. So I'm curious to see if the response here from EXO is to go for a Captain America ban or to go for a Winter Soldier ban. It would surprise me a little bit, but it's a question of, is it strategic, or is it like a cat chasing a laser pointer? Like, is it really worth spending your ban phase trying to stop? And that's the question that EXO's got to answer here as we get ready for map number 3, back to some convoy action on Spider Islands.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see T2 Kyubi choosing to lock Jeff in. I don't think they'll play it, but I'm still going to be disappointed when they don't. As Emma Frost and Cloak and Dagger being saved, Oblivione choosing to play a different game to what they played before. They were saving Lunar Snow earlier and now banning it for their opponents, as neither team can play Lunar Snow. It makes a lot of sense. Those 12 seconds of invulnerability for a team are so strong. It's so useful. I do believe it's 10 now. I should correct myself on that, but still, the Johnny Storm ban from both teams as well, making a lot of sense. He's so oppressive. He's so good at everything.
Yeah, and I mean, with Luna Snow, 10, 12 seconds, that's plenty of time for an ace, plenty of time to win a team fight. So yeah, I completely understand going after her. And then Think Twice, they just want that Emma Frost back. We've seen a lot of Emma Frost in this series, more in season 3, in the 1 or 2 weeks season 3 has been available, than I saw her all of season 2. So a big difference here, at least in the Ascension League so far. But Think Twice really chasing after some strategist bans here. They banned the Cloak and Dagger too. No sustain for Think Twice. Going to make it a lot harder to come back from some of those team fights and maybe keep Rise alive on the Bucky if he chooses to go for it again this game.
I mean, interestingly, we've not seen a single one of these teams yet play Phoenix, and it might be a bit of unfamiliarity with the character yet so far. Might be a difficulty to innovate them, or it might just be that they're not that good, especially with shield tanks being so prevalent, being the best choice, able to block a lot of the explosions and potential she has. Emma Frost being saved by both teams but Think Twice are going to have a Magneto that their opponents will not. And I think Oblivion are going to end up banning that Captain America or choosing Psylocke at the very end there. And I mean, I think it makes more sense. Psylocke was working so well with Captain America, and that's a much more broad and generalized ban. T2JJM and running Wolverine with WeRise potentially running Phoenix, that's really going to display the potential of that team up and the prowess it can hold.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing that. And, you know, as we are going into map number 3, you know, if you're going to spring something new on somebody that they may not know how to play against, definitely the time to do it. And yeah, that extra burn damage on JJM's Wolverine may be what Think Twice needs to lock this thing up in their favor. It would definitely be a pretty big upset, I would say, for game number 1 of this series, but we will have to see. Welcome back to Spider Islands once again, a map that definitely can be pretty brutal on offense at the start here. A lot more spawn room lockdowns here than on some other convoy maps like Yggdrasil Path, like we saw earlier. You know, sometimes you see teams go for these variable comps. Oblivion's definitely leaning more into the turtle comp here. 3 strat, 3 vanguard to start things off on defense. So they're really going to look for a lockdown here. Think Twice, though, not really going for a map-based comp here. They're going for a standard 2-2-2, so they're going to see how they handle this fight straight up here as right out the gate, JJM cannot be held back, diving on in on the Wolverine, looking to create some space here on this opening salvo and just get that payload moving.
Yeah, absolutely. Both Emma Frost Shields coming out here already broken, but both teams have a lot more potential and value as Ash does fall very quickly. That Wolverine really showing what they're capable of. Does lose their healing factor quite quickly, but Think Twice are making progress. They are pushing up and they've got enough forward momentum to win this fight if they don't blunder too hard. As Wolverine does fall, but he'll be back soon enough. And Think Twice has already taken the point, already won that first fight so incredibly quickly, displaying that incredible prowess here.
Yeah, it's almost like EXO wasn't ready for JJM to come right out of the gate, and then
coming out.
You know, Kai on the Magneto following it up there too with a triple kill. Now we're gonna be looking at regretting not banning Magneto here once again. As man, that was a crazy start to that offensive run for Think Twice, and they're just keeping things going. EXO looking for that strange portal to just kind of get back on the point here, but Think Twice is in the driver's seat literally in more ways than one. Ult economy advantage, kill advantage, they got everything right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, invisible boundary and support was buying time for both teams here, as we see Oblivion running triple support with Ultron, which has been proven to work really well in the past. I think Twice's comp here, really interesting. It's what I believe is going to end up being the defined composition for this season, as Oblivion have triple tank, triple support, not a single DPS in their roster. Truly something really unique, something I haven't seen much at all in this esports scene, but it's potentially going to work quite well. It gives that team so much survivability, and when you're on defense, you don't need to be winning fights, you just need to be stalling them so long that your opponents can't progress them.
Yeah, and the Legator on the Ultron shores up some of their damage problems they may have with that comp. So I've definitely seen teams do this. They'll take this comp at least until, if they don't manage to hold the offensive team to the start, once they get kind of going, then maybe they'll swap off to something more common. But yeah, it's a brutal mountain to try and climb, especially right out of the gate here. And it's really paying off there. 4 members of Think Twice getting caught up in that clobbering time there. Everybody's knocked up, but they're going to respond very quickly here, clapping back with a salvo of ults themselves. They're just letting it fly. No more room for talk here. We are just hammering down from both sides, but it looks like Think Twice at least is emerging a little bit victorious here, about halfway to that first checkpoint, but already 2 minutes and 45 seconds shave off of that clock. So a big effort here just to try and contest for that first checkpoint.
And Oblivion, Magneto trying to push up, trying to pressure. That invisible one isn't going to quite work because of the fucking dagger from Loki, but they are going to try to push up a lot. The immortality totem on point, going to buy the team just a little bit more survivability, as Wolverine potentially looking for some value. Interestingly, Think Twice's swap to the Iron Man instead, looking to get some more takedowns and Tesla value out of that. And jeez, that Wolverine took him really far back, as he just manages to escape barely with his life. Not really finding much value out of that ultimate, aside from buying a little bit more time for that team. The Emma Frost trying to deal a lot of damage, managing to find reasonable amount of value. But Wolverine's back at it, trying to find another grasp onto an enemy Vanguard. I believe that is an Emma Frost ult coming out, a Dr. Strange ult coming out. Managing to get 4 of their opponents, I believe, but it's not going to get a kill. It's only going to reach one death on both teams, as Oblivion both teams have 1 ult, and Team Kaz is really close to that Magneto, able to counter a lot, able to find a lot of value in this game match. But Emma Frost low on health, as Think Twice seem to have pushed the point a long way, but the Doctor Strange ult coming back out, looking to find some value, does not manage to find a kill with the Doctor Strange ult, no, with the Magneto ult then.
Yeah, big whip there. We've seen a lot of big Magneto whips, and they usually pay for it. Kai goes down there after dropping that ult. Legator overhead with the Ultron, putting down some damage here, as they are looking to go back into more of a normal comp. Missouri swapping to Wolverine to maybe take the fight to JJM's Wolverine a little bit there. But again, they're stalled out here on overtime. A few seconds left to go, but just about 10 meters or so, if even that much, for Think Twice to try and push this thing. They've really been struggling on Convoy here, and they're continuing to do so. Oblivione wiping the floor with them now. 1 member left standing. We Rise nowhere to be found. There he is. Last second, 1 second of overtime left. It is not enough. EXO will stop them from reaching that first checkpoint. Only 108 meters is all Oblivione's got to push to close out map number 3 and the match in their favor.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. This is looking a lot like that first game for Oblivion. They're clearly able to stall and hold objectives incredibly well. That is clearly their forte here. And I mean, the triple Vanguard strategy is triple Vanguard, triple strategy is really unexpected, but really does work when you're probably going to lose that fight, sure, but you're able to stall for so long, you're able to make it take so long, especially with I know there's a lot of healing that needs to go into 3 tanks, but when Ultron can get his fight once, twice a fight, it doesn't matter. It's worth it. It's worth playing, and you only need 1 fight that's going to last a minute and a half to be able to find so much value and force your opponents to play so aggressively towards the end.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the competitive community is seeing Ultron at a higher tier this season now, because more people have figured out what to do with him, and he is fairly situational, but definitely that's the kind of situation that you bust him out in here, and that all goes Oblivione's way here. They've got 4 minutes and 108 meters to push to close out the first match here of the Ascension League Season 2. Oblivione is opting for more of a damage-heavy comp there. 4 DPSs, as you can see on your screen, with a Rocket Raccoon to back him up in the backline, and Ken there on the Emma Frost to kind of get them a little bit of a frontline hold there, as they're going to look to just wipe the floor. Think Twice. Maybe 1 big wipe is all they need here to just start get that payload moving towards the final goal here. And 30 seconds in, and they're already about halfway to the distance that Think Twice managed to clear. And I guess I should point out, it does look like Legator is going for the Phoenix here. I like that pick here. I like it because the beginning of this map and most of where this fight is going to happen is going to be in these tight corridors here, these city streets that just don't have a lot of room, and give plenty of opportunity for Phoenix to put down some spark stacks and just blow up everybody on Think Twice. So not a bad swap there at all.
Absolutely. I mean, Think Twice really going for really putting up a strong defense as Oblivion really went for an interesting stacking up. I'm pretty sure they made a mistake. They had 4 DPS and 1 support, but they managed to quickly rectify and fix it, as they're now trying to engage, trying to push up a little bit further. The team up with Wolverine going out, just forcing their opponents to play a bit weirdly. Both invisible boundaries coming out as Punisher to delivery executioner, trying to find some value. Wolverine does pop up, and 3 kills coming out of Punisher. 4 Think Twice. They are really holding here. Honestly, I think more confidently than Oblivion were.
Yeah, on defense, they look like a completely different team. I mean, you know, in the beginning, that 4 DPSs out the front door for EXO definitely caught them off guard, but they very quickly responded, and we're almost halfway through EXO's timer here, and they're not even halfway to clearing this map, or at least matching the amount of progress that Think Twice was able to make. So I'm kind of surprised here, but big challenge coming in for Think Twice now, as they've got at least 3 ults alive and ready to go, but they're taking out everybody that's got ults. Kai knocks out 2, a double kill there on the Magneto. 2 ults taken out of this fight. Huge opening there for Think Twice to try and clear the floor here and make some extra space to just shave off more of that time. You know, it's a very tight battle for both teams, but you know, slowly Think Twice is kind of draining Oblivione. They keep finding these picks out the gate.
Yeah, and I mean, Think Twice trying to use that Phoenix ultimate really well there, but doesn't quite manage to set it off. They used Cloak and Dagger Shroud to hide their opponents from being able to shoot it, but it didn't matter. Against players this good, you're never going to be able to hide much for long. But Wolverine getting low as Alligator trying to push up, trying to find some value. Wolverine does get that healing factor pop, and Immortality from Loki already gone. That's a lot of survivability for Think Twice already out of the picture, as Emma Frost does pop ultimate, not able to find a Psionic Blink onto anyone, and Ash with the Cloak and Dagger ultimate able to deal a lot of damage, and jeez, that Invisible Woman just got wrecked.
Yeah, and a huge pick for XO2, taking out Punisher, who's been a thorn in their side this whole time. Big ace for XO here. A huge game changer is going to open this thing up, and that will conclude Spider Islands in Oblivion's favor. The NRC champs take the opening series here for the Ascension League, and man, what a series for both teams, really. You know, Think Twice had some struggles here and there, but they definitely came in clutch and put on a heck of a performance up against pretty crazy odds, and their Invisible Woman MVP for the first time I think I've seen on broadcast sector, coming in crazy with a 13-3, and that will do it. The 4 DPSs, not sure if it was intentional on their part, but opening up strong in the damage department, and that was what they needed to get the ball rolling. Tail of the tape before your very eyes there. GG's to both of these teams, and man, Think Twice picked up a ton of medals, and a lot of the stats were really in their favor, but you know, it's not about getting kills, it's not about racking up the numbers, it is about knowing the strategy, knowing when to execute. And Oblivione, a team that's been around for so long and already has a whole trophy case full of hardware, they show that they can execute.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I truly wasn't sure where that was going to go at the end of that second game, but Oblivione really, really good on those hybrid maps, those escort maps, where they can hold the objective for so long. And I mean, it's clearly their niche. It's clearly why they were able to win, why they're able to win so often. And I'm genuinely so excited to see how they play the rest of this tournament. And honestly, if that set of 3 was anything to go by, this is going to be a fun tournament. This is going to be a brilliant set of matches. We have in just a couple minutes Dawncore versus Planet Sainage, and then later at 9 p.m. CEST, Ascended versus Groot FN. So be sure to stay tuned for some more brilliant gameplay.
Yeah, I'm an NA guy. I'm from North America, but EMEA has really kind of been a front runner in Rivals Esports. Even, obviously the S tier teams, teams like the former Berber Patapim, now Citadel EU, and Rad Esports are big front runners for sure. But as you go down the ladder, teams are just as strong in this tier of competition, in the MRC, in the community tournament scene. So, there's so much competition here. And, obviously, you got to hit follow. You have to stick with the Ascension League as things continue, because you don't want to miss any of these EMEA matches. Next up, of course, Dawncore on the docket here, a team that I personally have seen play several times in other community tournaments. All of these teams are MRC frontrunners too, but, I'm really looking forward to seeing him back in action again. If you enjoyed what you saw in that first series, stay tuned, because we got that. A team like Oblivione, though, they've got some challenges ahead of them in this league. Teams like Insomnia that have been to Ignite before, they played in stage 1, we'll have to see how they stack up and get a little preview of maybe what stage 2 EMEA Ignite competition is going to look like. Absolutely.
I'm so pumped for what's going to happen, how we're going to run the rest of this tournament. And I mean, genuinely, you look at these teams and Think Twice definitely has something to prove. They've not already won a regional tournament. they're looking to get in there. They're looking to find their place and really say, hey, we're here to stay. But I mean, Oblivione already having done an incredible job in previous tournaments, able to carry that forward, just continue their legacy as one of the top teams, their top contenders in all of Marvel Rivals.
Yeah, I think both teams really sending a message there for both sides, really. Oblivione saying, hey, we have some experience, we're definitely deadly, watch out for us. But think twice, a really, really solid match or solid performance. That's the kind of tape that these teams are really going to go watch to know who they're up against in the near future. I can appreciate a solid matchup, especially one that subverts my expectations. And not to say that there's no way that Think Twice, there's no universe in the 14 million possibilities I can see in the future. Somewhere out there, there's a match where Think Twice wins this thing for sure. But plenty of rivals action to be played out here. Of course, this is just prelims, so they're not going anywhere, folks. They will be here for the weeks to come.
Yeah, I believe we are just going to go on a short 2-minute break, but don't go anywhere. We have an entire evening of brilliant gameplay for you guys to be watching, so stay tuned. Hello, we are back. I am Zeus56, joined by Diatonic, and after an incredible first set, we are about to go into our second set of matches in the Rivals Ascension League EMEA Week 1.
Yeah, first matchup, Oblivione, Think Twice, really great. Two teams that have been around for a while, seen them in lots of tournaments before, but I'm really excited about this one. We've got, I guess I would describe it as something old, something new, at least from my perspective. Dawncore versus Planet Sainage. Dawncore, team I'm very familiar with, seen them a lot lately. Had a great MRC Season 2 performance. They're the champions of the Marvel Rivals Grassroots Weekly. They've got a lot of hardware for themselves, but just as exciting, Planet Sainage, I have not seen them play before. This will be my first time watching them. So, brand new team for me, at least. I love to see a new team come out and play on broadcast. So, I'm curious. Dawncore, I think, is a big challenge for a lot of the teams in this league. So I am curious to see how at least a new team to me stacks up to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, truly, last match we saw some real titans clash, and here we're going to see some less known teams, some teams really trying to prove themselves, show, hey, we're here, we have a place in this scene, we have the skills it takes to do well. And that I'm sure every player is going to try their heart out, and it'll be interesting to see which team's better at strategizing, which team can really perform at their highest level. I believe we are about to head into the match now, but truly, I am in awe of what we're about to see. I think that seeing some teams play in this tournament for the first time, seeing how they're approaching things, their strategy, their mindset is going to be so key to what's going to happen for down the line when it's getting to like knockout stages.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, every single game that I watch on broadcast, you learn something new, you learn a lesson. And last time, Think Twice showed us just how important versatility is in a game like Marvel Rivals, maybe more so than other esports. Swapping comps there and changing up their game plan mid-match was what really put them back in action there. But we are on to set number 2 of the day, Dawncore versus Planet Sainage. And we are starting things off on the mean streets of New York here. Welcome to Midtown for some convoy action as Dawncore opting for the classic 6 Jeff stack, of course. No, I'm kidding. But really, bans for Human Torch coming in on both sides right out of the gate. So, trying to reset my brain here. Normally, Zeus, I would see, Emma Frost banned first or Magneto banned first, one or the other. But now, Johnny Storm is out, man. Nobody wants to fight this guy anymore. So, crazy stuff here. But especially on a map like Midtown that has really high ceilings, a lot of opportunity for a flyer to get in there and deal some serious damage.
Yeah, and I mean, you'd typically expect on paper a hero like Hela, who, once you can aim, you've got so much potential as her to dominate lobbies, to be hard meta. But when there's so many shields, and when you've got characters that are really difficult to play but can yield a lot of value, suddenly over time, over the course of about a year, this game's been out since the first beta, you suddenly see that starts to shift towards, hey, let's run a comp without heroes that you necessarily need to aim really well for, and instead can just pump out a load of value against shield comps especially, because that's consistently what is meta in this game, what is strong and what is good. I don't think there's been a meta where Magneto's not been a strong part of it.
Yeah, I mean, such a high health pool and a huge damage output, especially if you can land those right clicks, fully charged right clicks. So, yeah, no surprise that no matter what, man, Magneto is hard to really bring down. As a lot of the field has changed, I remember Season 0 when Iron Fist was like a nightmare for everyone, especially as a support player myself. I hated playing against him, and now you just don't see him as much. But Magneto is one of those guys that has really stuck around no matter what changes here. And you can see that at least on the side of Dawncore, they're going to bring him out. So I've definitely seen Kizaru on the Magneto before. Definitely got some plays there. Their other Vanguard player, Tree Man, a lot of Groot plays, which for a player named Tree Man makes a lot of sense to me. But yeah, it looks like they got one ban left here. They did ban the Luna, which, again, we've been seeing that a lot more lately. Just so much damage for a strategist, and they're going to continue that strategist hate to ban Loki as well. So there's your picks and bans for map number 1. Nothing too surprising in here, I wouldn't say.
Wait. Sorry. Those are the bans for the team specifically. That makes sense. Dawncore, interestingly, managing to save Loki, but ban it for their opponents. I think that's a really pivotal character, because he's able to just do so much. He's able to offer so much to a team, and the Magneto and Tree Man group from the side of Dawncore, really strong, really good at being a defensive backline, at having setups, at blocking their opponents from progressing much at all. Jason on Bew choosing to play Jeff, at least in the spawn room, probably going to swap instantly, but might use a little bit of that to speed boost their allies into the fight, into the fray, and just push up a little bit more if they're playing an aggressive comp, which they're probably not. Interestingly, choosing to go triple support, but switching to the Emma Frost and thing, clearly a comp designed around Wolverine, which is probably going to work pretty well. Wolverine is really strong right now. They had to do an emergency patch just to nerf him a little bit, and with that recovery of both of the Phoenix team, it's going to be so strong. Sainage choosing to hold quite high up here, but instantly Emma Frost is going to pull from their side.
A little help, please.
Yeah, first blood for Dawncore, kind of a notoriously aggressive team, liking to take their fight right to their opponents. As you can see, no turtle comp here at the start of Midtown for them. They're going with some DPS action here. Sapatic overhead on the Punisher. Seen him play Punisher multiple times, racks up big numbers, and already going for that turret to just rain down hell on Planet Sainage right out of the gate. But they are at least making some progress. They're almost halfway to that first checkpoint. Not bad for 60 seconds of time being used. But I do see Shia on the side of Planet Sainage going for the Phoenix here. Of course, narrow streets in New York here. Not a lot of room to walk, but unfortunately falls victim to that Sapatic Punisher from overhead. Crazy stuff from him. Not a bad start for Dawncore there. A team that really kind of captures the essence of, they might fall, but they get right back up. They have great recovery, no matter what. Winning a team fight does not mean it's the end for Dawncore here, and they're going to struggle a little bit there. Looks like a double kill for the thing. Zilly's on the side of Planet Sainage, and they are wiping the floor with Dawncore right out of the gate here. Definitely not quite secured that first checkpoint yet, but huge progress opportunity here for Sainage as they kick things off strong.
Yeah, and I mean, Sainage here, interestingly a team that, Dawncore here, interestingly a team, Dawncore, interestingly a team here that is not afraid to use a lot of resources to counter something. We saw that Dagger again countered by the and it used a lot of resources, it used a lot of their team's attention, but it instantly dealt with a problem that was recognized. Sainage has such strong communication here, are able to do so many lines up so well as the thing able to clobber
Wow, yeah, literally clobbering time. Man has a watch that only tells him it's clobbering time there. Picks up a triple kill, and yeah, Zilly's really off to the races there. Very nice start on offense there for Planet Sainage. Already picking up that first checkpoint. More than 4 minutes on the clock. Impressive stuff, especially, that's a great first impression for a team that I personally have not gotten to see on broadcast yet. Not only grabbing that first checkpoint, but still holding on to 2 ults. And yeah, Dawncore is definitely a team that likes to expend their resources. They're a little bit free with it than other teams might be, but they're really good at playing under the ult economy advantage, playing at a disadvantage. So I'm curious to see if they can start riding the ship and turn things around, because Planet Sainage is already halfway to that second checkpoint. Huge plays from Giovanni and that Emma Frost. Wow, just team fight victory after team fight victory. Insane stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Sainage here clearly showing a team that they're really well coordinated. They're fighting as one, able to use the thing to enter into the objective, and then Emma Frost managing to get so much value, to block so much, because those fruit walls are easily destroyable when you have something like a Phoenix, like a Wolverine. Wolverine wasn't literally twice earlier to farm his damage and his rage, but we're going to see a lot of ults being used here, both visible boundaries and the Punisher ultimate. Not able to find much value, but it will get 2 kills from the side of Dawncore. They are probably going to hold here, but it's going to be close as they manage to get a kill onto as Groot. And I mean, that's going to be a team wipe from the side of Dawncore onto Sainage.
Yeah, locking in there at the last second, like 4.5 meters left to go for Sainage to get that next time reset. But Dawncore pulls it together at the end. It takes a lot of resources to do it, but now they're pretty much breaking even here. Dawncore looks like they'll have 3 ults ready to go for the next fight. Sainage a little bit behind in that department here. Still though, 2:15 left to go, and they've still got 1 time refresh sitting there, probably about 20-25 meters away from where they're at now. But yeah, very quickly bouncing back from a couple of really big team fight losses on the side of Dawncore there. Not what I would expect to see out of them, and they're picking up another pick there. Sunless goes down over on the side of Sainage, but they are down but not out for sure. And yeah, we are in for a brutal fight here as we're only on the first half of map number 1 in this series.
Yeah, already in their opponent's spawn as well. But I mean, we see here that Treeman 1 is truly a group player who is not afraid to hold to use their resources just to get 1 kill, just to try and get an advantage in a fight. It's really like putting all your eggs in one basket, but when it works, man. The team up with Wolverine coming out here from the side of Dawncore. Trying to be Sainage, trying to get some value. Won't manage to find it. The clobbering time coming out into their opponents who aren't in the invisible boundaries is going to be a really clever idea, but not find much value as Sainage and Punisher will managed to get a lot of damage and clean up there. I believe they both got a 3K.
Yeah, I mean, huge comeback here, you know, waiting for that download to finish on the side of Dawncore there, but now they seem to at least have Planet Sainage's number a little bit here as the tail of the tape there you saw, turning things around a little bit here. Stats closer than they were at the start of this match for sure, but Sainage, they've got 3 ults ready to go. Their Vanguards are leading the charge here, but Sapatic on the side of Dawncore picking up another pick there, racking up those numbers that we see time and time again from a DPS player like him, but Planet Sainage is not going to give this thing up, of course. 30 seconds left to go here and a decent distance to push. Dawncore has held control of that payload long enough now that it's not quite a take the payload and immediately get your time refresh. Now it's going to take some work, and at this rate, I would say it's probably going to take some very, very significant wins under overtime here, but they need to get on this payload right away. They got 10 seconds left to go.
Dawncore clearly having the advantage here from an overcoming perspective, and instantly Anderson's Bamford gets countered by the Groot. Such a smart play, such a clever and consistent thing to do. They wait for a support ult and then just counter it. They gain a massive advantage in the fight overall, because supports will overcommit when they use ult, and you can abuse that. You can get a kill onto an opponent, and they'll use an ult and find very little value. And you've got to remember the extreme value of supports in this game. As Dawncore managed to hold that second objective, they did get pushed right to the very end though. So this is going to be a difficult battle for Dawncore on attack here, as Sainage are now the ones defending.
Yeah, Dawncore's got a pretty decent distance they're going to have to clear here to win this map for sure. Not a bad offensive start for Sainage at all, but of course, Sapatic being the hero for Dawncore, putting them back in the fight, whereas, you know, out at the start, I really thought that maybe this thing was over already, but they turned it around at the last second. Of course, Sainage's Vanguard players leading the charge there. Zillies and Giovanni putting in a ton of work, grabbing some kills there, especially Zillies on the thing, and he's going to swap to Captain Kalintar himself there, Captain America with the Venomized skin. So they are changing some things up here. We're seeing like Shaya's swapping it up a little bit. Giovanni's going to stick with the Emma Frost, of course, but they're changing their strategy actively here. Dawncore pretty much at this point saying, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're going to stick to what eventually locked in that defense for them there. But you know, plenty of map left to go. Dawncore leading the way a little bit there. Sapatic 17 elims with 11 of those being final hits, and a 17k damage bomb there dropped on defense. But now side swap, door's gonna open here once again, back on the streets of New York here. Dawncore has a lot of ground to cover here, but you know, Sainage interested to see what their defense looks like here with those changes.
Yeah, and I mean, Silas running, as you said, Captain Clintar with Sunless on Silent, a really strong combination as Captain America is able to push their opponents up, and it sets up such a clean combo for a Psylocke. It's really the place in the meta that Captain America is holding right now, and that is going to be a quick first fight. Dawncore able to find several key kills, and it's just going to force Sainage to retreat, not wanting to have to reset all the way completely and stagger themselves. That is going to be a turret setup on the objective though for the side of Dawncore, and it's going to deal a lot of damage. It's going to be a big threat. Emma's already really low. It's going to force out a lot of value from the opposing team as they manage to kill 2 of their opponents, both tanks. Sainage have to retreat. They can't hold space without the survivability of those tanks and Vanguards. And 5 minutes 14 seconds. I don't think I've ever seen a quicker push on this map.
Yeah, really, really brutal opening for Dawncore there. They're opting for a lot of very comfort hero picks for them. You know, Froston's back on the Psylocke, you know, Tree Man's with the Groot, of course, Kizaru and Magneto. You know, they're really showing these are the heroes they're most comfortable with. And Sainage, they're a bit staggered, and now you can see maybe they're pulling back a little bit, trying to regroup. Not a lot of ground left to gain, but they've got to regroup here. You know, everyone there for a second was trying to play the hero and running in one at a time and just getting wiped out, and now they're kind of looking to regroup, come back together as a team. And Shaya's going to be rocking the Phoenix a little bit here, so maybe going to put down some explosive damage there to put a hole in this offensive run. but it's going to take a lot of effort here to lock in defense. They're not going to give this thing up, though. Aim High is going to drop the invisible barrier. Sapatic continues the brutality on the Punisher there. A quadra kill for him, just keeps on going. Even out of the ult, goes to the shotgun and just wipes the floor with him. And that is going to be map number 1 in favor of Dawncore. No way they can get there in time. Zillies does swap to the Doctor Strange portal, but it just takes some time to spin up. And that is a Dawncore map number 1 victory on Midtown.
Dude, the Punisher turret at the end was BM, man. They did not need to do that. This team's really showing the value of Groot in this current meta, because Invisible Woman's so good, and he perfectly counters that ultimate, especially when you have so many ults that can combo with it, like Magneto, like Punisher, which we both just saw, able to deal enough damage, get that headshot, to burst through it. And there are other options from a purely DPS perspective to counter those ults, but that is one of the most reliable and consistent, because people don't have time to react. As soon as they're trapped in a Groot ult, they're trapped in a Groot ult, and they cannot leave.
Yeah, it's a comp that has so much combo potential and so much potential to flip the script without you even realizing it. You know, by the time you recognize, okay, we're in trouble here, you're already wiped out. You're already been aced. So, you know, crazy stuff there. A very visceral match number 1. You know, Dawncore starting off struggling a little bit, maybe giving an opportunity to figure out some things and say, okay, these guys like to play this way, they like these heroes, and it just takes some time to spin up the win there. But Dawncore will take map number 1 for themselves. A very strong convoy team for sure. But Planet Sainage, you know, I feel like there's some bright spots in that map number 1 for them as well. You know, their offensive run, not bad at all. A decent amount of distance, but just when the side swap happened, when they went to defense, they just struggled a little bit. You know, they spent too much time kind of everybody trying to play hero, and so now, you know, they got to regroup, they got to work together as a team for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just those couple meters away from that last point, and it could have shifted everything. They could have got all the way to that end of the point, and it could have got onto like double length. It's incredible how distant those two teams seemed, but how close the match actually was when you think about it. And I mean, if the first match was anything to go by in this tournament, we've still got an incredible series ahead of us. We've still potentially got a reverse sweep from PS here, but Dawn could still pull it out. It is anyone's game, and truly I'm exhilarated to see how the teams perform, what they are about to do, and how they're going to shift their comp in order to match their opponents.
Yeah, and you know, like we saw, you know, Dawncore just picked up on some things really quickly. You know, Planet Sainage just as easily can figure some things out for themselves and kind of turn the tide there. So, you know, a heartbreaker for sure to start things off. But you know, there's definitely a lot that they can work with in there. A lot of stuff that Sainage is doing right, and they're getting things done. And so, yeah, you know, we could have seen a totally different match, like you said, if they had hit that second checkpoint. Could have been a lot harder. It gives them some more breathing room, some more opportunities. So, you know, it's a lot of it's about team chemistry, right? And some of that comes from experience. It's not something you can on the fly kind of adapt to. You just have to play together more. And, you know, leagues like this give teams that opportunity to kind of build that rapport with each other and build that chemistry. So, you know, one map under their belt, at least, you know, they took their loss here. They say, okay, we got to go back to the drawing board, come up with some kind of new strategy. I'm curious to see what map Sainage goes for next. You know, that can kind of give you a clue as to maybe what game modes they're more comfortable with or what maps they're more comfortable with. So, you know, there's a lot here that they can change. You know, we got a whole pick and ban phase ahead of us. There's a lot of different things they can do to kind of turn the tide in their favor here. So, you know, like you said, we saw, you know, the first series of the day, it was a game 3 situation, and you know, I wouldn't be too surprised to see the same thing here.
Yeah, and I mean, that match we just saw is an absolute testament to how brilliantly designed I believe this game is, because we saw both teams had comps intended to stall, intended to force long fights, but it didn't feel slow. The game always felt quick. It always felt like every minor decision had a major impact. I believe we are just about to head into this next match, and I mean, truly, like, you think about the 3 main compositions you would want. You've got dive, you've got brawl, and you've got sustain. Sustain and dive are almost intertwined, where all you're doing is creating an opportunity for someone with higher mobility to come in, instead of creating an opportunity to get a long range kill, because that doesn't work when you have such high skill ceiling characters like Black Panther, like Psylocke.
Yeah, and you see teams opt for those high skill ceiling characters, you know, so it really, you know, a lot of it is skill level, and a lot of it is just how much have you played, how comfortable are you, and, you know, like I said, you know, Dawncore opted for a lot of their comfort picks there for sure. You know, they have a couple of new players on the roster, I noticed as well, but ultimately right now, you know, a lot of it is trying to gather information about who you're playing against. You know, info is kind of how you win the battle for sure, and the pick and ban screen is the best place to do that, as maybe they're looking to change up the strategy a little bit here. Signage going for Human Torch now is pretty much banned on site, ban number 1 a lot, but they're going to follow that up with an Emma Frost ban, so it looks like Kizaru will be going back to the Magneto here as we go to Symbiotic Surface for some convergence this time.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing both teams save Magneto, seeing the clear value he held in that last match, as Dawncore bans Loki, which honestly makes a lot of sense. Loki is really strong in this meta. He's really good, and they were exploiting him. Were they? I don't remember. Damn. I don't believe they were actually exploiting him last match. I think he was banned.
Yeah, I think you're right. I do think he was banned last time too, which, yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. You know, you want to stop the Loki. He's got so much versatility. I mean, he is kind of a Swiss Army knife with that ultimate. You know, changed up a little bit, not quite as strong this season, but definitely still a big threat. And Planet Signage is gonna take the opportunity to go after a little bit more aggressive pick and ban here. They're gonna ban Groot away from Tree Ban. Now, maybe not the worst choice here, as yeah, Groot, hard to play around, still a really, really strong Vanguard, especially in the hands of a player whose namesake basically is Groot. So not a bad choice at all as we kind of wrap up here. Dawncore taking away Psylocke for Planet Signage as their last ban, and it looks like they're going to keep them from banning the Luna Snow at the very end here. So pick and ban spread kind of almost complete here. You know, again, nothing too shocking here. You know, the Groot ban definitely targeted, but at least on the side of Dawncore, I feel like they're just good go-to picks and bans, and I feel like that's what a lot of teams do. Sometimes, you know, you have to weigh the risk versus reward of, like, do we spend the whole entire ban phase going after one player on the other team, or going after a couple of their picks, or do we just go for the good, you know, spread of stopping some of the meta heroes? So there we go. I'm ready for some locks here. Who we got?
Yeah, absolutely. Teams about to choose their characters just after this final ban. I believe it's going to end up being Loki, neither team having access to that character. Interesting that both teams chose to save the Magneto, with Groot getting banned for the side of Dawncore. They were clearly exploiting him so much last game, able to counter so many opposing ultimates just with such a reliable player on them. Interestingly, potentially toying with the idea of running a Black Widow and Mantis composition, able to damage boost that Black Widow. It's quite strong, it's a really good niche, but it's difficult to make work, especially when their opponents are considering 3 shield characters. It just blocks the visibility and the amount of line sight lines that Black Widow can get. But it doesn't make it impossible, especially with a character so good at close quarters. If you want to go dive her when she's on an off angle, it can be difficult because you have to get close, but you can't get too close.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have seen Sympathetic go Black Widow before. One of the few players in competitive rivals that you see opt for a Black Widow here. So hopefully going to get a show off a little bit of that here. Dawncore on the offense first here. So a long path to that first checkpoint here to unlock the payload as we move to the first Clintar map. Not the new one this time. Symbiotic Surface, the one you know and love. Doors are open. Planet Signage on defense here, and taking a nasty combo of Emma Frost and Magneto as their vanguards. But as you can see there, Frostin diving in right off the bat on the Wolverine, and Kizaru will pick up the first blood for Dawncore as they are already moving to start contesting that payload.
Just straight out the bat, tossing Wolverine across the entire map and then instantly swapping. It's such a clever strategy, and it's so goofy. The grab with the rocket tech with that jump back, absolutely destroying their opponent. That is truly a team that's seen a lineup, seen a potential synergy between characters, exploited it, then found, wait, this doesn't work for the rest of it, let's just do it, then swap. And it truly worked. They've pushed up so far already, able to get 2 more kills off the back of this. 5 minutes, 30 seconds on the clock, and they've already got first point.
Yeah, the versatility on the side of Dawncore is insane this game so far. Frostin sticking with that Wolverine there to rack up some kills, but Kizaru so far the most final hits on the team on the side of Dawncore. So, you know, again, Magneto showing just how much damage a Vanguard is really capable of putting out in this game sometimes, picking up some kills. But yeah, insanely swift first checkpoint there for Dawncore. Payload on the move and already halfway towards that second checkpoint. So, you know, they're going for a really aggressive strategy here, and he picks up the Emma. Frost carries her off the bridge, and yeah, Frostin is just not giving up on this thing, but DPS is on the side of Dawncore in trouble here, so Paddock's down and Frostin's weak too. Definitely needs some heals, as Sainage is looking pretty healthy and ready for some defense here to start locking things in.
Yeah, Sainage managed to push those back, and now that we're in fights that are going to have ults like every match, for every fight, it's really going to shift how these teams approach it, and the potential pushing power Dawncore has, because something like Sapphire is ultimate on Black Widow is not nearly as useful as most DPS ults in the game. But the team up or the synergy with other characters is potentially worth it. And I mean, that first fight, we saw them able to push up so far, deal so much damage, do the most, because their opponents didn't have those cooldowns, didn't have the ability or resources to block their Dawncore's push. They're already at almost the end of second point, trying to come around the side door to block being blocked off by the Venom wall.
Yeah, it's you know, it's clinical at this point. You know, Planet Sainage is up, they come in and they get knocked back down just on repeat here as Dawncore finds the flow here on Symbiotic Service. There again, 3 kills there. Ken and Baby Bat picking up some more numbers for themselves here. And Dawncore, even though they've got the advantage here, they're clearly winning this offense so far. They're still keeping things versatile, you know, opting for the Mantis now. They're still changing things up to try and stay 2-3 steps ahead of Sainage here. So they've got to, you know, start locking in something here, or Dawncore may clear this map, and then they've got to tie this thing up and go to rounds 3 and 4 and, you know, continue this thing. So a lot of work still to be done on the side of Planet Sainage in this map, but they've still got some opportunities here to try and turn things around.
Yeah, absolutely. Hayden showing up into the face of the Hela, dropping down as soon as their shield drops, and oof, that's gonna be Hela killing Black Widow, as the Strange Ult does come out and doesn't manage to find a kill because of that invisible boundary, and Wolverine is angry at full charge, but isn't going to be able to find much value, and he's just going to get pushed away. Magneto popping ult, is he going to be able to find a kill with this? He should, but he doesn't quite, because Cloak and Dagger uses that fade, able to block so much from their opponents, and the retaliation of a Magneto isn't going to do much for Dawncore or Sainage. And that Cloak and Dagger ult coming out, I believe both teams have just used a support ult to give them that little bit more time in the fight, a little bit of room to breathe before pushing in with ultimates now. And I mean, this Emerald is probably going to get 3 of them, able to not quite get that silence link, and Doctor Strange pops his ult really quickly, using a really clever piece of tech there to fly up above their opponents, now blocking off heals for their allies. Wolverine manages to get 2 kills from that ultimate ability, as Phoenix able to get that cleanup, and Sainage able to hold the point here for the first time this game. 3 minutes left on the clock for Dawncore, and they only have a little bit of space to take.
Yeah, I would definitely call that team fight a win for Sainage there. Maybe the one of few they've had so far in this offensive run, but at least, you know, bright spots for maybe a turnaround here. You know, supports on the side of Sainage doing double duty here. Aim High and Jam doing everything they can to keep their teams alive. You know, great invisible barrier in that last team fight there, countering Dawncore's ults, and they may be trying to do it again here. Aim High is throwing it down, giving their team some sustain here as they try to wipe out Dawncore, but no kills, kind of just breaking even here as we're going to go back to some neutral game. Both teams, no ults except for Sunless does have that Wolverine ult ready to go, so healing factor standing by, just, trying to find a way to get something going on defense here. But Dawncore, once they find that flow, they are a team that is very difficult to break it out of, but Sainage is gonna give it a try here. Zillies lets the Psionic Seduction fly. A double kill there for Shia on the Phoenix, trying to keep things going, and Dawncore is aced here with 2 minutes left to go and 2 checkpoints secured so far. And now I would say Zeus Sainage is starting to wake up in this game and starting to catch up too.
Absolutely. I mean, this is truly a reverse in what the entire game so far has been. Dawncore will have managed to push almost all the way though, so it's not going to be an easy jump for Sainage on attack. Even if, and it's a big if, they hold Dawncore all the way here. They Sainage now having 5 almost 4 or 4 almost 5 ults, and Dawncore having a very similar amount. This is going to be a high utility fight from the perspective of both teams. The Pitiful World's being popped, Mag Ultimate being popped. I think 3 support have been popped as the Phoenix ult gets used into the team. Not going to find much value. Helen gets shut down by Sainage Phoenix, and they're just going to be able to hold point. They use the support ult last from the side of Dawncore, so they're going to have an advantage here from a health perspective. Emma's health going up and down and getting 2 down. They fall as Stranger trying to come out here, managing to only hit the Phoenix, who is going to get Magneto bubble, but they're not going to live because of that hella headshot. Now, Sainage are split. Some of their supports are in that backline, and they're going to be killed by the Doctor Strange with that release of the Darkness, Maelstrom of Madness, and only 2.85 meters left to go. And they're holding. Will they be able to hold for another 25 seconds? We cannot tell yet, but it's looking heavily favored towards Dawncore now. 5 members of Sainage are dead, and that is all the way for Dawncore. But with only 14 seconds left after getting held for about 5 minutes, that is a rough ending.
Yeah, it was really the team fight before the last there that kind of sealed Sainage's fate. A lot of ults expended and just not a lot of value. I mean, at best it was a 2 for 2. But yeah, just no big progress made on that last fight. Dawncore is kind of ready, dug their heels in, and stuck with it. So they clear the map here, and now the best that Sainage can hope for, at least as we swap sides here at halftime, is to try and tie this thing up and go to a round 3 to stop Dawncore from locking in the shutout here. 2 maps to nothing here, but still plenty of opportunity for them to kind of make some plays here. But the margin for error is extremely small here as that window of opportunity is kind of closing. Again, Sainage shaving a lot of time off of Dawncore's clock. Their time bank, at some point it was over 5 minutes, but now we're down to just a few seconds. So, not bad defense in the back half, but just not coming soon enough to kind of turn the tide in their favor here. So there's your tail of the tape. You can see Dawncore's numbers definitely ahead here so far. Ken currently leading the charge for the team. The ace, 12 elims and 17 assists on the cloak and dagger. So definitely some room for Planet Sainage to try and catch up here as they get their hand at offense here on Symbiotic Surface. But a lot of questions Dawncore has for Sainage and not a lot of answers they have. And Jam somehow finds... Oh, it was the Doctor Strange portal. I think we missed it here, but Frost in there, disgusting start to this matchup. You see teams do this. They open to the Doctor Strange portal, say, yeah, come on in, get an ambush on us. Oh, sorry, it's off a cliff. So, nice stuff from Dawncore there. They get things rolling early, and, Tree Man's going over to Penny Parker, seen him play her before, and she has an opportunity to be absolutely disgusting on a map like Symbiotic Surface here. So, Sainage, again, not a lot of answers for Dawncore, and they're going to have to start finding them very soon.
I mean, I've seen several teams from the start of this game trying to get us a strange portal kill in organized play, probably for the clip more than anything. But that's the first time I've ever seen it be successful, and it's probably because everyone forgot it existed. Why would you do it? It's an objectively terrible choice, but when it works, it makes sense. It works. Now we're going to see the Phoenix trying to come in here, pushing really far out, trying to find some value. is going to be able to get a couple of explosions after using that self-healing from them to deal a lot of damage, as Captain Clintar gets almost burst down by those bombs, but isn't going to be quite able to kill them. Ken manages to get a kill onto Sunless. The flanker becomes the flank, and Sainage really trying to make a push, but isn't going to quite be able to. That was an incredible ult from Shia though, as they have been able to take the point. They have been able to make progress, and I don't think it's going to get held by Dawncore. They're so staggered.
Yeah, and if you needed a highlight reel for why you should pick up Phoenix, you know, Planet Sainage showing us when you've got some spark stacks down and you let the ult go, it's huge damage. And Sainage actually manages to get this payload up and running. They've got over 4 minutes, almost 5. So they too pretty swift here off the rip as this as we swap sides into halftime here. Nice stuff. You know, Shia picking up that insane quadra kill there. The damage just comes so fast, you don't have time to respond to it. So, you know, Dawncore now a little bit on the back foot as we swap sides. They were definitely in the driver's seat before, taking advantage of everything they had, and now expending a lot of ults and getting almost no value out of it here. Sainage picks up a couple of picks there and just keeps this payload rolling, and now I feel like the balance has kind of changed a little bit in Sainage's favor. Now a double kill there. Phoenix continuing to put up some numbers here, and you know, I feel like people have rated her somewhat highly, and you know, still holding on to that already ready to go for another Phoenix out of midair. And you know, the numbers here catching up a little bit. Shia now the ace, 24 elims and 14 of those being final hits for Planet Sainage. So you know, it's a pretty big ask to try and tie things up and go to extra rounds, but so far Sainage is showing that they've got the potential to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dawncore trying to push through a really interesting side corridor here, as Sunless with that Magneto bubble able to force out a lot of value from those shields, and the Phoenix Ultimate coming out trying to block their opponents, able to get a lot of chain damage off, but it's not going to be quite enough to find a kill, find much value, especially in that Lunar Snow Ultimate, and Strange Ultimate will go out, won't manage to find much value as there is now an invisible boundary from the side of Sainage up, and Sainage reacts with Dawncore reacts with their own Phoenix Ultimate. Isn't going to find much value as they get rolled. Sainage have pushed all the way up. Sainage are going to cap this point now, and with a couple minutes left on the timer, they could beat Dawncore.
Yeah, and Zillies and Shia on the side of Sainage are jockeying for that MVP. Strange Portal coming in, though, from Kizaru to get Dawncore back onto this thing. They were a bit fractured before. The team's a little split up more than usual, but they're trying to get things going here together, and it is not working out in their favor here, as it looks like Frostin goes down there first. Sainage picking up yet another pick here. Shia, the hero for Planet Sainage in this match, picking up even more kills, another double notch, one more for the Phoenix in this matchup here. Sapatic goes down, a triple kill there, keeping the chain alive, and now Sainage is awake, and they are in this match. 2 minutes to go, and they're threatening to get that second checkpoint, and the time refresh will be theirs. 3:30 on the clock for Sainage, and now, if I'm Dawncore, I am seriously looking at the possibility of a round 3.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know how any of these players do it. You look at their screen, it's just particle effects. It's just everything happening at once. But they're able to hit headshots so consistently. They're able to perform so well that it doesn't matter, right? It's incredible seeing the absolute prowess everyone in this match has, as we are now pushing up onto the last point. No one is on the objective, so this is almost wasted time for the chance that they have now, which is that.
Yeah, still about 3 minutes left to go there. Looks like Dawncore kind of making a 2 for 2, just trying to break even at the very least here. They have quite a few resources. Tree Man letting the stars and stripes fly on the Captain America ult there, but just not enough to keep the team alive here, as Sainage is really taking control of this thing here on offense. So they struggled defensively, but this is like a whole different team. It's like all 6 players just swapped out at halftime, and now 3 ults left to go for them. But Dawncore does have a little bit of an economy advantage there, 4 with a Cloak and Dagger ult waiting in the wings here. 2:15 left to go, and now not only does it look like Planet Sainage is threatening those extra rounds, but unless Dawncore starts locking in this defense, they're going to have a bigger time bank, a huge advantage going into those extra rounds. So, you know, Planet Sainage really being a threat here on Symbiotic Surface, and they're just keeping this thing rolling here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you've got teams with like 2 spots and then Captain America on each side, it becomes a battle of sustainability. Who can force those enemy ults out first, and can you counter them? Because if you can gain an advantage, even just a small one from that style advantage, you can find him on Phoenix with that ultimate though. It's going to be a lot of sky pressure there, as he's going to get 3 kills total, and then instantly trying to bam it back up with that spin for win ability.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, Planet Sainage down but not out after that first half there, and they're going to clear the map. A minute and 20 still on the clock as round 2 wraps up. We're going to round 3. These two teams are breaking even, and now all the time in the world there for Planet Sainage. Double what Dawncore is going to have to work with here as we swap sides. And, you know, I've seen this happen a lot. You know, we get to round 3 and round 4. One team has a clear time advantage, and they emerge the victor of that map. So this is kind of a mountain for Dawncore to climb. You don't see a team like them in this position too often, where they've got something kind of insurmountable they have to overcome. So, you know, they're a team that constantly rises to the occasion and answers those questions that their enemies pose to them. But now it's a pretty big ask here for them to lock in. And considering, I believe they're going to be on offense here first, so they're going to be the ones to throw down the gauntlet and tell Planet Sainage how much distance they're going to have to clear if they want to win this map. You know, on round 1, the first time Dawncore was out on offense, very, very fast plays. They were able to unlock that payload in not even 60 seconds, I believe, left them with like 5-something on the clock. So now, you know, if Dawncore can do that again, there's no time resets in extra rounds, but if they can do that again, it's a lot to ask, even with the extra time bank that Sainage is going to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dawncore, we saw what they were able to do. That first fight on attack, throwing Wolverine over the top, they were able to do so much, but it looks like they're not going for that strategy this time. And honestly, I'm not sure if that's the right choice, because that strategy worked so well when no one had ultimates, and no one's got ultimates this starting fight. You've only got a minute. You basically only have one fight at the start. If you pull off that strategy correctly, which has been proven to work in this context against this team, it rolls them, it wins you the fight, and it potentially wins you the game. But they're clearly not trying to do that. They're clearly trying to push it very far as Sainage play a more defensive game, but they play further back, maybe that managing to kill Xylus very early on, and then Spatic finding a second kill. This is going to put Dawncore on the massive a massive advantage here, as they manage to finally take that high ground back, killing a support. And that is a nasty melee combo from the side of Spatatic, I think.
Yeah, and you know, almost every member of Dawncore picking up some elims there. You know, we saw Baby Bag get one, Sapatic's picking them up, Frost and Kizaru, all of them are getting kills here, and they've managed to run Sainage off of this point here as they're looking to contest this last little bit of progress. But Zillies is going to get that Doctor Strange portal to get Sainage back in the fight here. Last opportunity for them to try and close this thing out before Dawncore can secure that payload. It would be a huge defensive lock-in here, and they might be able to do it. 2 members of Dawncore, 3 go down. Sapatic is down. Those supports are still up. Fate of both worlds coming in from Ken on the side of Dawncore to keep him alive. But Aim High now has that invisible barrier ready to go. Kizaru with the meteor in overhead. Release finds Sunless, but not as much damage as you'd want to see here. Aim High drops that invisible barrier, covers that entire point to keep Sainage sustained here as they're looking to close this thing out. Dawncore going down 1 by 1, and it is a long walk back from spawn to get to contest this point.
Yeah, literally swapping to Spider-Man just to contest, and I believe they use a Strange bottle at some point there. If not, they're probably likely to be about to use a Strange, the Venom swap from Treeman there isn't going to quite be enough. They get all the way to 95.5%. I don't think I've seen that point held closer, especially so early on, but they were ultimately held by Sainage. Sainage have double the time their opponents did, but by the end of that overtime, I think it ended up being about the same.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Planet Sainage at least has some momentum here. They definitely started picking up some kills there at the end of that first half for round 3. So now, you know, the question is, can they just keep that momentum rolling? You know, they're going to have to get, I believe, 2 or 3 ticks of progress all the way on that first payload. to secure this thing. But 2 minutes to do it, it's a lot of time. So margin of error on the side of Dawncore extremely thin here, as they're going to have to address the reality that maybe we're going to go to map 3. This is not necessarily going to be a shutout. Planet Sainage really been turning things around so far on Symbiotic Surface, but doors are open here in just a second. Big opportunity for Sainage to take a map off of a very highly ranked MRC competitor and a team with some hardware behind them for sure. So this is their chance here to take them to map number 3 and maybe get some momentum going into that and threaten to take the series away from Dawncore.
Yeah, absolutely. Dawncore looking to know how to set up their team defensively here, though. They've got Strange really far up from the rest of the team, but they've also got a Punisher and that Wolverine, both really good at punishing overcommitted players and tanks. As Sainage know they have time, they're going all the way around, trying to push onto this high ground here, forcing the rotate from Wolverine as Phoenix is flanking. That's interesting. I mean, it makes a lot of sense though. She's able to manipulate that off angle so well, trying to find some explosions onto their opponent as Punisher gets deturreted, forced out of that, and damn, I mean, Froston really pushing into their opponents as Sainage are on defense, but on the high ground, and Dawncore are Sainage are on attack on the high ground, and Dawncore are now on the objective, trying to hold it as best they can. But no one's died yet, except until just now. Sunless just managing to pull here, as Dawncore now having enough momentum to find a second kill, but still anyone's game. And ults are about to come online, especially Shia, and Baby Bat already has their dagger ultimate. That's going to be a lot of healing for their team, as Shia gets killed before they manage to use their ultimate. That is 54 seconds left on the clock for Sainage. They are potentially going to use a strange portal to reconnect and retouch, but they could just touch normally. They do have the ability to.
Yeah, they've got to take an opportunity here to regroup, but Sunless not waiting, getting impatient there and getting picked off by Frost, and that could be huge here. Big DPS down on the side of Planet Sainage, but they got 3 ults ready to go. It's 3 ults versus 3 ults, and it's Dawncore's last chance. They've got to defend this thing and just hold them off here before Sainage can get in there and wipe the floor with them. They do have that Invisible Woman ult. Dawncore's got 2 support ults, though, a ton of sustain, so it's a big ask for both teams. Not a lot of time left, not a lot of space to defend, so it's going to be a lot of ults flying here. And Dawncore, they enter this last fight here with 6 of them ready to go. Tree Man there, as you can see, with the Eye of Agamotto ready to go. The Cannon is going to open things up with the Fate of Both Worlds. Sapatic goes Judge, Jury, and Executioner, but they both go down. Shia takes them down. Phoenix, huge double, triple kill there, but responding very quickly. Tree Man with that Eye of Agamotto, stunning Sainage to buy some time here, but it's not going to buy them back those bodies that are going to be walking back from spawn, as Tree Man is sitting there with the portal, and it looks like Zillies finds another kill onto Baby Bat here. We are now under overtime, but still a lot of play left here, even under overtime. Sainage, good stuff there as they manage to take control of this thing, but Dawncore does have an opportunity here to get one last chance at a retake.
Sapatic looking to touch with the strange portal, doesn't manage to. They've won, they've taken the game, and that means that this match is going to go to the final point, or final game.
Huge comeback for Planet Sainage. It's taken them some time, a couple of maps here, but by the end of Symbiotic Surface there, now they're looking locked in and ready to go here. Zillies with the MVP there on the Captain America. Very, very nice stuff for them. But Dawncore taken to map number 3 here against Planet Sainage, and insane numbers on the side of Sainage. Zillies the MVP, but don't overlook the DPS line either. Both Sunless and Shia picking up an insane amount of elims, especially that Phoenix there. 24 final hits at the end of the day, and I really feel like their Phoenix was kind of the game changer in that. A lot of multi-kills there that just kept them in what was quickly a losing fight for them. So insane stuff from both teams.
I mean, it just doesn't feel fair when you've got a Phoenix able to. It's so clever. They set up 2 opponents stacked on each other with 2 ticks of the Phoenix charge. Then they ulted right in the center of them, and it dealt so much burst damage because it forced 2 explosions and the ult damage at the same time, able to damage through a Lunar Snow ultimate, and they clearly weren't expecting it. They clearly didn't realize that interaction was possible, because they were not moving away from each other. They were not acting to prevent that. They were just waiting for it to happen. And it really shows how strongly a new character can change the meta, can change how the game is played, because there's new strategies that you might not even think of if you've not encountered them before. And we are going into Midtown Convoy for our final game of this set.
Yeah, and Phoenix plays so differently than all of the other heroes in the game. I mean, it's a completely different gimmick than what we have on a lot of the other characters, and so it's kind of difficult to get a lock on it. It's just one of those things where you don't realize, you're grouped up. She gets a couple of left clicks in on you, and then you have an ult dropping on your head that just blows up your whole team out of nowhere. So I think it just takes some more getting used to for these teams, to realize like, okay, they've got a Phoenix. We're trying to defend on this point. Maybe we need to spread out a little bit, give some space, make sure somebody is touching to at least contest so that they don't start making a bunch of progress here. But, I think as the season goes on, I'm curious to see what Phoenix is looking like in terms of competitive viability. But Shia really just showed us that she is here and she can keep up with some of the meta heroes for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going on to map 3 now. I believe we did see it briefly for a second. I'm hoping it comes back. But Midtown Convoy, really interesting choice. We saw it last set of 3, I believe. Actually, we didn't. I'm wrong. Don't listen to me ever. I'm joking. But it's a really interesting map. It's quite linear. It's pretty defender sided. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to if either team's really able to make much progress. Because last game, they were certainly both able to make progress, but Clintar is generally pretty attacker friendly. And
yeah, for sure. Oh, we're changing up. We're going to domination for some Krakoa action. The Mutant Haven itself here for map number 3, and Dawncore looking for a Haven here to kind of get a last map win, but they've been down before but not out, so I expect to see some comebacks here as we get underway. Interesting. I do feel like Dawncore is pretty comfortable as a team on Dom. They do pretty well on domination maps. So, a little bit of an uphill battle out the gate for Sainage, but of course, this pick and ban phase, man, it can change everything in the blink of an eye. So I'm curious to see if if Sainage has some kind of strategy here to maybe get an earlier game advantage, because, you can only play on the edge of the cliff for so long. Like, you can't be making these crazy comebacks every single game. You got to get comfortable and get some advantages going for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Both teams banning Johnny Storm there. They've done that every game this set, and who can blame them? They are both so good. Sainage choosing to still ban Groot. We saw what Dawncore can do when you set him up properly, and it is nasty. Both teams choosing to save the Magneto. Potentially an Emma ban coming out here. I wouldn't be shocked if it is, especially with how good Emma is at punishing divers, punishing anyone who overcommits even just a little bit, and stalling matches. But Sainage clearly first here, trying to ban Luna Snow, a support.
Yeah, and it would especially be helpful to ban Emma on the side of Dawncore, because Giovanni seems to be a pretty competent Emma Frost player. He's shown some good stuff in this match so far, and yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. You called it. They're at least hovering it, thinking about it, said we really probably shouldn't give him that again if we want to try and lock this thing up for ourselves. But they're going to trade some blows back and forth here. Both of them are going to ban Luna Snow, so no fate of both worlds for this third and final map here. A little bit less sustained, but Sainage, that group ban worked out for them. I think not having to fight Tree Man underneath one of his comfort picks, I think that definitely helped turn the tide for them there. And Sainage is going to get the Loki here too. Yeah. They get the protect on him, so I feel like so many threats that you have to try and deal with in this pick and ban phase, and unfortunately a couple of them are going to get through. And I think Sainage picking the Magneto and the Loki together, not bad for your saves at all. Not a bad look, especially going into this one-to-one situation.
And now we're going to see Dawncore choosing who to save. I think they stand a very strong chance of. I think that it would be really good for them to save Emma here. It would give them such a strong tank lineup that would give them a massive edge over their opponents. Choosing to save Loki instead, it does make a lot of sense. Loki is quite oppressive in this meta, and if you've got a Loki and they haven't, you have a massive advantage, especially with the power of that immortality token. But Sainage now have a decision to make, and they choose to ban the Cloak and Dagger, which will leave Emma Frost open for Dawncore to take. That is going to give them a heavy advantage in this next match.
Yeah, they have access to both Magneto and Emma Frost. I've seen this situation with them before, and they absolutely crush it when they've got access to both of those top tier vanguards. So there's a lot here that Sainage is going to have to deal with. But interestingly, staying versatile here, they're going for the Guardians of the Galaxy res comp. They've got the Mantis, the Adam Warlock, and the Star-Lord all locked in. So now Dawncore themselves have an uphill battle here too. It's going to be hard to keep Sainage in the grave here. It's going to be hard to secure, especially on domination. Not a bad look for Sainage here going into this thing. So here we are, map number 3, Krakoa. Former headquarters of the mutants themselves here for some domination action. Both sides winning one map here. Sainage looking really strong in that map number 2, and now they've got a little bit of momentum here. So definitely going to be looking for them to try and cling to that thing for dear life as we get ready to see who wins this second prelim series here.
And we just got dog cam. Sorry.
No,
I like
it's nice.
The dog was really cute.
You never know what you're going to see in those spawn rooms, man. Before it starts, you have no idea what you're going to see. So,
I mean, honestly, I've seen people suggest that Blade just moves around all the time instead of ever showing up in game. But we're now going to see Sainage choosing to not run Penny. I mean, it makes sense. Penny is a weird character to be running, but potentially quite strong with the right strategist with that rocket. But when you've got Loki open, you take Loki. Now the Magneto is trying to engage, trying to push it up into their opponents as Spatic. Oh, he gets dropped down onto the low ground. That's not going to be good for him. That's going to force him to reset just a little bit. And the Loki Immortality Totem's coming out as Strange pushes that a little bit further up, trying to find a kill, trying to find value into their opponents. Only 80 health left on that shield, 100 left onto Invisible Woman as she pops Invisible Boundary really early on in this fight. Ken also having cloned someone, potentially trying to look to pop an ult. Frost managing to pop Kraken Impact, managing to find 2 resets so far, and looking at a third. Yeah, that's it.
Wow, yeah, huge opener there for Dawncore. Several picks, definitely going to secure that first take for them on this match. So a really solid start there, but finally Sunless manages to hunt down Frostin and put an end to the reign of terror. So at least Sainage has 3 ults here. Dawncore, again, a team that likes to just let the ults rip. They don't hold on to them for too long here. So that may put them on the back foot in this fight here as a Galactic Legend overhead for Sunless to start putting some damage down. Kizaru goes for the Meteor M and falls out of the sky, taken down by Star-Lord there as Sainage is going to clap right back here. Not even 25% captured for Dawncore yet, and we're already going to be seeing some res action here on the side of Sainage. They're going to be a team tough to keep down in this matchup, and Dawncore spending a lot of those ults may bite them here as they don't have a lot of resources to follow up if they get a big Adam Warlock res.
Yeah. And I mean, we saw Magneto there, instead of choosing to try protect themselves, just submitted to the Emma Psychic Seduction in order to try and get that kill onto Spatatic, the Punisher for who was in ult. It's really threatening, that ultimate. You have to deal with it, and they were able to just about with some clever maneuvering from Sunless on Star-Lord. Now Dawncore have fully rotated to the side of the objective, having the strong high ground, popping that Punisher turret with the Emma shield right in front of it. That's going to be really threatening, and really difficult to deal with. That's going to basically force the entire match to be played around it. And now Dawncore are only just touching with Sainage at 40%, Dawncore at 46. It is truly anyone's game still. Anyone could cap here, and it would be neck and neck.
Yeah, point number one really turning into a tug of war between these two teams. Aim High gonna copy the invisible barrier ult there just to get them some sustain going. Pretty interesting positioning from both teams. You know, Sainage started on the high ground there as this fight gets underway here, but they quickly swap sides though. But the highest ground of them all, Sunless again overhead. That Galactic Legend himself finding a double kill and looking for even more here. Triple, maybe a quadra on that Invisible Woman as it continues. Does find that quadra kill. Huge play for Sainage there as they are in full control here on Krakoa so far. Just absolutely insane stuff. And Adam Warlock's been holding on to that ult for a while. We haven't even seen the big res yet because there just haven't been enough members of Sainage respawning. But now Dawncore's got an opportunity for a retake here. 4 ults, but they are staring down that Adam Warlock res. So even if they get those kills with those ults, there's still going to be some fighting under an ult disadvantage at some point for them coming up here. But they got to make a move here soon. 95% and counting for Planet Sainage to capture this first point on map number 3.
Absolutely. I mean, Planet Sainage, no deficit here, but they're just waiting, they're just stalling till they're neck and neck, and they've achieved it, walking in with that Punisher of the Emma for Psychic Seduction, managing to come out, and they find 2 kills really early on. That is going to put them at the forefront of this fight, but Adam Warlock does come out, managing to bring back 4 members of their team in total, and I don't think it's going to be enough though. Dawncore are so close to recapping, but Team Sainage are at 99% and have been playing just so effective this fight, and I believe they're continuing that trend throughout the kill onto the Mantis. Team Sainage is potentially going to flip things though, as we see Captain America pop that freedom charge.
Yeah, and Dawncore, they managed to claw their way to a retake there, even under the ult. Good stuff there. Yeah, you're right. 4 members of Sainage got back up, and they all went right back down. Dawncore managing to take it and stay in this fight here. Point number 1 turning into an absolute bloodbath here. But it looks like a couple of team-up reses are going to come into play here. Shia and Jam are going to get back in the fight here. The support's back up and running, but they take him right back down there. And Dawncore now going for some Adam Warlock of their own. Frostin picking him up here and showing him what he can do on Adam Warlock. 4 members of Sainage down. It may be a 99-99 overtime fight once again from both of these teams, but Sainage gonna have to take just a second to try and regroup, and they may not have enough time. No Doctor Strange portal. There they are. They're in just in time. Overtime here. Both teams at 99%. No ults ready to go, but Dawncore's gonna have some very quickly, and that Psionic Seduction from Treeman may be huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Captain Clintown really pushing in here, showing the power of that Venom symbiote with the ideals of freedom, but the Emma for Psychic Seduction will come out and is going to manage to find a kill onto 2 of their opponents. Dr. Strange's coming out here, and they managed to kill the Venom. Dawncore has managed to take this point, and I think they're about to win the match. Yep, they've done it. They've won the match. They've won the best of 3, but that was so close from beginning to end. Oh wait, no, they haven't. Never mind. I'm dumb. That was the first point.
Yeah, they've got an opportunity here to come back, but, you know, a win like that, especially that second half of the first point, it really feels like Dawncore's locked it in already for themselves. I completely understand. You know, that Guardians res comp, you really have to be careful about the flow with it. It's really hard to line that thing up properly. And I think they activated it at a good time. They got a lot of good reses out of it, and Dawncore just played on through it. And unfortunately, they just couldn't set it back up. You know, there's a lot of steps, a lot of moving parts with that thing, and it's just hard to get it to go when you need it to go. And Sainage just didn't have anything to follow up with it. So Dawncore, you know, playing under a resource deficit for sure. They got control of that point and just rode it all the way to the end. So yeah, edge of the cliff here for Planet Sainage. 1 point in Dawncore's favor, and all they need to do is capture this one to close out series number 2 of the Ascension League here. And yeah, that'll be all she wrote. So big opportunity for Dawncore. They've been struggling a little bit. They've been on the back foot more than maybe they have in the past here, but a big opportunity to shut the door on Planet Sainage right here. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, I know we're here to appreciate the mechanical complexities, but sometimes you forget just how beautiful the environment in this game can be. With the Invisible Woman all going out there trying to force Punisher off of turret is able to, as Dawncore have rotated onto the point here. This is where they are holding down, and Sainage are having to push them, having to take space away from their opponents just to touch, just to contest the objective. And we're seeing a lot of damage from both teams, but not much in the way of death so far. But that's all about to change. Freedom Charge coming out, and the Adam Warlock team survivability is popped, but the 2 kills coming out from the space created by that Phoenix ultimate, and now Sainage have just rolled their opponents. They're just killing the staggered leftovers.
Yeah, going for some more comfort picks there for sure. Zilly's back on the Captain America. We've seen really good stuff from him so far. 11 elims already, but leading the charge there, Shia once again in the driver's seat on that Phoenix. 11 elims there as well. Sainage making that first cap there to get things going. So they're not down and out. They're not throwing in the towel just yet. 3 ults to 3 ults it looks like, but Dawncore is gonna have a couple charges up. They're both gonna have several resources at their disposal here. So now Dawncore did swap to that Adam Warlock. They're looking to get some reses out of that too. But a team like them that likes to spend those resources, they might have to take a little bit of time, maybe hold some of them back. But they've got 6 ults ready to go here as we're looking for some kind of opportunity to get a team fight rolling.
Damn, Punisher coming out here into this invisible boundary. Hasn't found any value yet, and I don't think it's going to, but it is going to allow Silent to get a kill onto their opposing Adam Warlock. Invisible Woman finds one as well. Dawncore have started steamrolling. Oh my god, they just got 4, 5 kills, and they've retaken the point. It's at 56% for Sainage, but Dawncore are making their push. They're making progress.
Yeah, and Frostin, it's so interesting that he's opting for the Adam Warlock. He's playing him like a DPS, picking up kills left and right. Plenty of elims for him. I didn't even know that he played Adam Warlock, to be honest. So crazy stuff, trying to just subvert everything they can to throw Sainage off their game. And finally, Dawncore makes a retake there. Already 25% of the way, so not a bad retake for them so far as they find another pick there. Looks like Giovanni is going down. The Magneto is down and out. But 2 ults waiting for Sainage here. So, game's not over yet. Sainage did almost get 60% on that first cap here, but they need to take a sec, regroup, and kind of engage as a team. Again, we saw them, they abandoned the triple res comp. I commend them for not sticking to something that just wasn't working in their favor. They're going for more comfortable picks, and they look a lot better and look a lot more confident on these picks right now.
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing the Freedom Charge come out with 2 ults from the side of Sainage, I believe. And this is going to be an incredible push up for this team. And Invisible Boundary is popped, trying to just keep that team alive, keep them in the fight. Psionic Lynch forced onto the Invisible Woman, and it is going to allow her to get killed, but the Phoenix ult does come out. That's going to put a lot of pressure onto the side of Dawncore, and I believe Dawncore have just taken the objective.
Yeah, they're in control here. 75% capture progress for them. And once again, Dawncore has found the flow here. They're able to keep getting some picks that prevent Sainage from grouping up and getting into a team fight here. And they just haven't had an opportunity to really full send and try to get a retake here. So Planet Sainage maybe looking at one last opportunity to try a retake here, gathering on the point, getting ready for a fight, as Dawncore is definitely going to be at 99%. It's going to have to be an overtime for this retake here, but Sainage is not going to back down.
Absolutely not. The Adam Warlock with the invisible boundary from the side of the Sainage, then Dawncore using it to freeze our opponents whilst the Punisher ultimate comes out, trying to find a kill, does manage to find one, then a second at the tail end of it, as we now see that the prowess of Dawncore able to get so many kills in such a short amount of time and just hold the objective, just win, as they are at 99%. And have reached the 100 they needed. That is Dawncore. They have won this match. They have won this game.
Yeah, and shout outs to Planet Sainage, showing a lot of stuff in those last couple matches. A lot of good plays, a lot of teamwork, but just not enough to take down a team like Dawncore. I believe it was like top 16 MRC season 2. They're definitely kind of on the cusp of making that jump from that level of competition up to Ignite, and coming back from those odds really kind of shows where they're at as a team and how strongly they work together. But definitely not all their game to win for sure. They dropped a map against Planet Sainage and showing that a powerhouse in kind of the tier 2, tier 3 competitive space is not untouchable at all. But there are your numbers for this last game here. Ken will pick up the MVP on that Loki. Very nice Loki pick there. I managed to hold on to that through the pick and ban phase, but of course, Sapatic picking up another 28 elims, just adding to his kills over time. So, there was a lot of very interesting plays, throughout that match. But I think ultimately Dawncore showed, like I said, from the very beginning of this set, they're a team that they go down, but they just don't go out.
Yeah, absolutely incredible match. These first two games or matches in this tournament have been absolutely astounding to watch. Some top tier gameplay from both of them. But be sure to stay tuned. We have Ascended versus Groot FN coming up in just a couple minutes, but we are going to go on a short break beforehand. Hello, Rivalers. We are back with the very final match of the day for MRC Rivals Ascension League EMEA. With the preliminary matches, we are about to go into Ascended versus Groot FN. I am Zeus56, joined by Diatonic.
Yeah, and interesting matchup coming up here. First of all, a team named Ascended in the Ascension League. I mean, perfect fit. So, definitely looking for them to pick up some wins here. But these two teams are definitely around the same tier or the same power level, I guess I would say. Both of them, Groot FN being a top 32 MRC team. I believe Ascended is somewhere around the same level. So, these first two games, both have gone to map number 3, both very close, intense matchups. I expect more of the same here, to be totally honest.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Looking at the matches so far, it's actually been way closer than I thought it would have been, especially with the first. We have so many incredible teams in this tournament, and they are all showing off their prowess, showing off their unique playstyles and strategies and approaches to a game like Marvel Rivals, which is so variable in how you can play it, so interesting and so chaotic. The match should start quite soon, but I'm honestly just really excited. I mean, Groot FN is potentially one of the funniest names for a team I have ever seen.
Yeah, definitely a good choice. Very fitting for a game like Rivals for sure. And they have some competitive experience themselves. They've competed in some collegiate competition in the UK. I believe they were actually the spring split champions of a UK college tournament. So they've got some hardware for themselves too. But Ascended, a name that I've definitely seen on the MRC leaderboards, a team that definitely belongs in a competition like this for sure. So both of them pretty new teams for me. I've seen a little bit of Groot FN, not as much as I'd like to, and I've seen a couple replays of Ascended here and there. So I'm very curious to see what these teams can show, and showcase they will. A community tournament like this, perfect opportunity to get some clips for yourself and build a highlight reel to show, hey, if you're looking for an org or you're looking to break out of the in-game faction level play and find an esports org for you, then this is the perfect opportunity to build that highlight reel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is potentially going to be some really exciting gameplay. All the teams so far have been pretty much similar in skill level. And it's led to a lot of really nice back and forth. And we're seeing where people stack up in relation to one another so far. It's really fun to be watching a tournament at the start of its inception, because that's when everything's the most varied, the most unique. And that's where you really get a picture for the scene as a whole. And the meta that almost forms, because teams are rewatching each other's replays, seeing what strategies they're running and how to counter that, how to play against it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's a unique opportunity for us in the booth because we get to see some of these teams, in some of the early steps of their competitive Rivals journey. So, maybe 6 months from now or a couple of months from now when Oblivione takes up stage 2 of Ignite and some of these other teams, maybe in open qualifiers in the next round of those, we'll see them at the echelon of competition in Rivals esports. But for now, getting ready to start series number 3 for the EMEA branch of the Rivals Ascension League Season 2. Ascended taking on Groot FN. So again, a couple of big MRC challenger level teams here getting underway. Picks and bans. First map, Yggdrasil path for some convoy action here. We've seen it a couple times already today. No surprise there. Teams really love this map. And interestingly, opening bans there. Ascended sticking with the Human Torch bans, but Groot FN starts with a Wolverine ban right out of the gate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've not seen that yet. A Wolverine ban first instead of a Human Torch. Most people hate Human Torch, and for good reason. He's really impressive, really strong. But to be fair, Ascended didn't decide to save him, so they clearly don't want to play him that much, and it is the second ban that comes out. I guess Wolverine's just that little bit worse for Groot FN. Or they've seen Ascended's replays and they know he plays them. Or they play him. I'm not sure which it is, but I'm excited to see how it impacts these competitors and these teams.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure that these two teams have ever crossed paths. So the pick and ban phase in a matchup like this, a lot of it comes down to who's done their homework, who's been able to source the information about the enemy team. Advanced pick and ban system, you want to take advantage of the opportunity to kind of rug pull the enemy team and take away some of their comfort picks or some of their, their key heroes for their strategies they want to run. So a lot of times this comes down to how well do you know the field of competition, and, being around the same level, I have to imagine these two teams are at least a bit familiar with one another's picks and bans. Of course, as the game continues, this is still a very young esport, right? So as the game continues to evolve and grow, we'll have more tape, but for now you can get a really big advantage by just knowing what you're up against.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it being such a young esport is so interesting, and we're almost into our first LAN tournament, of this big LAN tournament of this game ever, and I'm really excited to see what impact that has on the attitudes towards this game as an esport. But equally, this is such a strong opportunity to see what the meta is for this season, see how teams are playing, especially with the addition of a new character, and it really gives you an image of how the meta is going to form and shape around in-person tournaments. We're going to see the EMEA save from Groot FN, as Groot FN cannot play Cloak and Dagger, Wolverine, Loki, and Johnny Storm, and Ascended cannot play Wolverine, Johnny, Loki, and EMEA. It's incredibly similar, but with just that slight difference of EMEA and Cloak and Dagger.
part, pretty standard. The Wolverine ban is interesting, probably not as common, especially that opening ban. But, you know, overall, I think pretty standard stuff. Nobody's done anything particularly crazy here on picks and bans, but, you know, sometimes when you don't know your competition as well, you know, you just go for what the meta currently is or what the most common picks and bans are. So there you go, teams locked in and ready to go here for some convoy action on Yggdrasil Path. Groot FN and Ascended going head-to-head here. Top 32 MRC caliber talent here, ready to go, and they are already underway here. Of course, I do see a Magneto in play on the side of Ascended, and Emma Frost over for Anomalous there on Groot FN. So gonna see some nasty stuff from the Vanguard frontline for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lipton X playing Namor with the Hulk. Both characters we have not seen yet today. Every other character we in this match have been seen played today, even Mantis and Black Widow. But I'm really excited to see if they can make it work, how they implement it, because it's pretty strong. But in this meta, I'm not sure how good it actually is compared to a lot of other plays, especially when your opponents don't have flyers like Johnny Storm, which that Gamma Squid is so good at dealing with.
Yeah, for sure. And I think overall, the comp from Ascended is pretty interesting. It's a combination we don't see a lot out of, especially, like you said, the Namor and Hulk team up in general. I feel like I just don't see that as much anymore, but they're going to try and make it work for themselves here as they are on offense first. Out the gate, pretty strong here, about halfway to that first checkpoint. But of course, as we've seen a lot here, defensive teams letting them kind of walk out, and that's kind of exactly what Groot FN is doing here. Waiting for them to round that first corner to maybe take some high ground, but I see a Namor there behind Groot FN, and I don't know if they realize yet that he's back there, and they're gonna get a couple picks, but finally Groot FN responds and takes him down. But it will be Ascended kind of taking the lead here, getting a few early eliminations.
Yeah, absolutely. Ascended will have Groot FN will have room to touch it, and are almost certainly going to. But Ascended have made so much progress so early on in this fight, in this game, and they're not even going to touch. And Groot FN really not showing commitment to the salvaging of that point. It's potentially the right decision because it gives them an advantage at the start of this next one. They can hold at this choke all they want. They can try force Ascended back off the objective as the Salad Hulk does come out, but they are already there to block it, to try and use Magneto Bubble and Hulk Bubble and touch just to stop their teammates dying. But Rex gets killed by the Magneto ult.
Yeah, and I feel like Groot FN, they weighed their options here. They said, do we want to dive onto this thing and potentially throw away even more bodies and just let him rack up kills, or just let him take that first objective and, you know, Yggdrasil Path, a map that kind of goes defensive coded as it goes on. But Groot FN's really struggling here. A pentakill there for Sven on the Psylocke, and that Dance of the Butterflies, game changer there. 8 elims for them already, 8-0. There, huge play from Ascended to kind of get the ball rolling against Groot FN. They'll be back with a vengeance though. 2 ults ready to go, and a Sonic Seduction waiting in the wings for Groot. Ascended though, they do have that. They do have the Whale, the Namor ult, as well as a Fate of Both Worlds ready to go for them. And Mary Jane on the side of Groot FN gonna kick things off. They have both worlds to get things going. Guardian overhead with the Phoenix to drop down. Ascended responds in kind though, throwing out their own ult, and it will be Ascended that emerges victorious there. Insane plays from Lipton, a pentakill on the Namor there to wipe the floor with Groot FN, an ace for Ascended, and that is 2 checkpoints in the bag, 5 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock.
This is ridiculous. I mean, we absolutely see that Ascended here have a signature composition or a signature playstyle with that Lipton and Ambitious both playing on 2 roles that aren't, 2 characters that aren't played that often. I mean, they're still reasonably good, they're still pretty good, and combined they're really strong, but you wouldn't expect it to work nearly this well. But flanking Namor is so good.
Yeah, and it's a ridiculous amount of crowd control between those two. You know, the Namor ult and the Hulk stun. It's a lot to deal with, but Groot FN gonna take advantage of this last checkpoint here that does tend to be pretty heavily defensive favored, I would say. And they do manage to get a foothold here, at least a little bit, and now for the first time in control of that payload and just trying to push it back. But Ascended have had almost more than 4 minutes this whole match so far on their offensive run here, but finally running into some trouble from the side of Groot FN. They're gonna take a step back here and charge some of those ults for them to go. Rex is letting the Cloak and Dagger ult go. Groot FN slamming Q there to just get the ults going in response, and it looks like at least we're gonna butt heads here and break even, but Groot does manage to get a pick on Duplicafly, but it's a 2-for-1 trade for them, unfortunately. Spend picking up even more elims on that Psylocke. Absolutely insane Psylocke player so far. Triple there and just keeping the ball rolling. So just as quick as Groot were able to pick up a victory here and there, Ascended claps right back.
Yeah, absolutely. Ascended having a brief stutter. They got taken down, but they took it. They got given an inch and they took a mile back. They are now strange portaling off their opponents. That's going to give them just a little bit more time, but I'm not sure if it's going to be quite enough to get all the way there. They are holding in response though, and it might be. It is. They just got all the way by Strangel. More portal.
Wow. Okay. Whew. That's a heartbreaker for sure there. A crazy offensive run from Ascended. Just start to finish, almost full control of this map so far. So now back to the drawing board for sure for Groot FN. I mean, absolutely insane. Dropping that strange portal in there, and I mean, what can you do? How do you get around it? I mean, I see no way to surpass it. So absolutely insane stuff from Ascended. You know, I've said it before. It's how you use that portal that sets apart like a diamond Doctor Strange player from a one above all or from a competitive player. And really, that's the kind of tech you want to see. So, swapping sides, Groot on the offense here now. So struggling on defense a little bit, but you know, the game changes now, and they're changing it up just a little bit. Rolo is going for a Rocket Raccoon here swap, but for the most part, not changing too much about the strategy here. Ascended though, you know, now on defense, they are definitely sticking with what worked for them so well last time, sticking with the Namor Hulk team up. Duplica's gonna stay on that Magneto. I mean, I don't blame him. You cannot blame him for not changing, but it's really Spend that's led the charge for them there. The ace so far, 15 elims, 11 final hits. Insane Psylocke stuff.
All right, I'm back from the death, and honestly, I think Ascended are going to roll here. I mean, genuinely, I have been wrong many times about teams doing well at the start, and then it flipping later on in the set of 3. But with such a strong team here, with a team that knows how to exploit those Namor squids so well, and clearly looking to do a very similar thing this half of the match, they're probably going to be just fine. But Namor, but 2 Vanguards on Punisher and the Magneto going down very early on in the fight, as Psylocke trying to find some value, trying to find a way to poke in, but Groot FN have already pushed really far up onto the objective, onto the point. They're already halfway, but this is pretty standard for where teams generally get held or pushed through. This is the real breaking point of the first point and potentially entire match, as Psylocke is 95% towards ultimate, and they're probably going to use it before any of their opponents have ultimates to counter it with, and it's not going to manage to find much value. It will force their opponents back and pull out a lot of resources, but it won't find a single kill.
Yeah, and in a game like this, momentum is really everything, and Ascended ending that offensive run with 3:20 left in their time bank. I mean, I don't know how much more momentum you could really have. So Groot FN is going to have to throw a wrench in the gears here and get something going, and they're looking to do it now. Rolo's going to throw that invisible barrier down. 4 goes overhead at the Meteor M, but doesn't find anybody on the track there. Mary Jane activating the Fate of Both Worlds, just trying to give them some more sustain to keep that team alive here, but there's just not a lot for them to follow up with so far. And Namor already racking up some more kills there. Lipton picks up 1 pick there, and it looks like Spend will find another one here. So again, just the damage on the side of Ascended, keeping things going, that DPS line. Double kill there for Lipton to round off that team fight. And yeah, it is all Ascended's map to win so far here. You know, when you're facing that level of momentum and just how strong Ascended looks, it's hard to get things going for sure. There's kind of a mental game there. So, you know, Groot needs to get a couple of small wins, build up that confidence a little bit, and just kind of get back in the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ascended, they looked like they were having a rocky start during the first part of Groot FN's push, but they found their ceiling. They found how to push up even more. Nemo Bubble trying to block as much of that ultimate as it can. It's not going to be quite enough as the ultimate doesn't manage to find a single kill, and Ascendant are going to be able to push back on their opponents, and they've done it. They've wiped when they should not have won that fight. They genuinely were losing so much space there, but Groot FN weren't quite able to capitalize off all of it, and Psylocke is looking low but isn't going to get quite finished off by Ambitious. 2 ultimates on the side of Ascended and none on the side of Groot FN. They are close to the invisible boundary, but if they can get an early hit on that backline support, it's not going to be great for Groot FN's chances. They have 50 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, and Sven there waiting in the wings. You see sneaking up behind Groot FN with the dance of the butterflies there to try and put the last nail in the coffin for this map. Already taken down Mary Jane, 1 support down, but Rollo thankfully stops the bleeding very quickly. That invisible boundary finally coming up for them. Nice stuff. Way to hang with it, Groot FN, staying in the fight as much as they can. Insurmountable odds for them, though. 30 seconds left to go. Still looking for that first checkpoint, and Lipton is looking for even more victims here. Double kill for him on that Namor, racking up even more numbers. Insane stuff. Ascendant is really just on the track here. I mean, it's been their game from the very start. The wheels have turned, and it's really hard to get them to stop here. Ooh, pause for a second. Lipton initiated pause, maybe a disconnect or something here, but yeah. Man, I mean, Ascended just coming out of the gate on map number 1 so far. It's really crazy.
Yeah, only a couple seconds left on that timer on that clock as well. So 20, I believe, 25. It's not much. I believe that the attackers were trying to touch with Strange Portal. Let's see if it works. There's a chance Hulk just manages to get stunned. I'm just checking in. It's apparently going to be a 60-second pause currently. We are going to figure out what's going on, try to sort it out for you guys. But if you want to stay tuned, this is arguably the worst point for a game to pause. It's so close to the end.
Yeah, and you know, at least with, you know, we've got overtime, you know, it's never over until it's truly over, right? Like Groot FN has every opportunity here to kind of bite back and get on that point. And, you know, they like I said, you know, they just need to get a small win or 2 here and there. They need to get a pick that isn't immediately responded to, like 1 or 2 kills that they don't have to pay for. And I think that is what will get the ball kind of rolling for them. And, you know, I've seen teams in this position before. It feels like you're getting beaten down, beaten over the head over and over again, every single team fight. But, you know, once you get a little bit of ground there, a lot of these teams will claw for even more. So, you know, I think that there's a real chance that at least Groot FN, you know, they're not out just yet, and it's only map 1, so plenty of opportunities to keep going. But man, an absolute tear from Ascended so far in this match.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, brilliant gameplay so far, every match this tournament. But I'm really excited to see how this one ends. I think looking forward, I don't want to count my chickens before they've hatched, but Ascended really showcasing themselves as a high contender here. And Groot FN, I think they've got a lot of room to improve. They've clearly shown that they're capable of it. They've clearly had some incredible moments this match so far, but they've got a long way to go. And if they can refine themselves, if they can get their teamwork, their mechanical skill up to par, I genuinely think they will be an incredible contender. They look like a very well-coordinated team, and they show a lot of potential.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of it I have to wonder is how much of it is, you know, maybe they aren't as familiar with playing against the Namor Hulk team up. It's a comp that they may not be as familiar with. It's certainly not one you see very commonly. So, you know, we have to see more from Groot FN to really determine, like, okay, what are kind of the key weaknesses in the team right now that's contributing to the position they're in. So it's just a matter of, you know, getting more experience, kind of seeing more play for sure. But again, you know, that's some of the stuff you run into in competitive rivals where, you know, you have to figure out how to play against these comps you don't normally see. You know, that's what separates like the champion level teams and these challenger level teams against these teams that are just kind of getting started or getting some more experience. You know, it's that you don't just know how to play against the meta, you know how to handle it when a team decides to go off meta. So yeah, it does look like we may be tossing to break here for just a second. Somebody's having some technical difficulties in that game. So I think we're probably going to throw to break here for just a little bit while they try to work that out. Of course, you know, technical difficulties, it's rough. We want to give them an opportunity to get back. So yeah, I guess the question now is what do we do? What does Groot FN do? They got to go back to the drawing board and find a new strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. See you after the break. But dude, I'm still on the edge of my seat. There's 25 seconds left. Be sure to check back after it. And we are back with 25 seconds left on the clock of potentially the final game of this set of 3 for Oblivione versus Ascended versus Groot FN. And the Strange Portal is going to touch onto the objective here as the reverse fight, but they're not going to be able to touch all the way. That is going to go to Ascended. I believe they've just won the match overall. And that's it. They've done it.
Dang, that was a lot of build up for a very quick, and they overshot the Strange Portal. It was right behind the payload and probably just panicking and trying to get it there in time, and unfortunately just missed. But you know, fortunately for Groot FN, that number 1, they still have some opportunity here to gain some ground back. But yeah, so far it's a tall order for them, and there you go. The numbers on your screen: 2 pentakills, both for Lipton and Sven. So DPS locked in. Absolutely nutty stuff on the Namor. They're picking up the most damage overall in the game. But yeah, so it's back to the drawing board for Groot FN before map number 2, and man, just brutal stuff from start to finish. You know, there's a lot of questions, and there's gonna have to be some change for sure. But you know, obviously not out just yet. We're not done. We're going to map 2, so we'll see what Groot FN brings to the table next.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a ban onto Hulk or Namor here. Probably Hulk. And it's like, it's not the worst ban in the world. It makes sense, especially from what we've just seen. That display was atrocious from Ascended. But as soon as you're doing that, you're choosing to ban a character who is off meta enough that it gives the other team a big advantage in the control of the meta of that match, of that game. And it's why being able to run off meta stuff at the same quality you can run meta things is such a powerful resource for a team to have and be able to exploit. I believe we are going into the next game of this best of 3 quite soon, but I'm excited to see how it shapes up.
Yeah, and I mean, you only get 4 bans. So if you're a team that's able to play off meta comps just as strongly as you play on meta, it kind of means that your opponents are going to be like chasing you down the whole time. It's like, okay, they really rocked the Hulk and Namor team up, so we need to ban a piece of that. But then they swap to something more meta. You know, they go for like a traditional dive comp, and now it's like, okay, now I'm chasing down Captain America or Psylocke or something. And so it creates a situation where you give your opponents less value in the pick and ban phase if your spread of heroes that you can play competently is so wide. So I think that is going to play in Ascended's favor. I'm curious to see, though, does Groot FN decide to go after the off-meta stuff, or maybe do they reevaluate their picks and their strats and just try to win at face value and just keep some of the meta stuff away from Ascended?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to see how this shapes up. It is Groot FN's pick for the map now, and the map really has an impact on how a team plays, on how they perform. Interestingly, they've chosen all of the Jalia Convergence, quite an open map, potentially looking to go more pokey, more sustain based comps that can exploit that range weakness of their opponents. However, Namor has plenty of range, so I wouldn't be shocked if there is a Hulk ban here, or even a Hulk save. It's a little out there, it's a little wacky, but it's potentially very useful, as both teams have, from Groot FN side, banned Wolverine, and from Ascended side, banned Johnny Storm.
Not a bad pick at all. And I think that's the risk you run with running off meta comps, is once you reveal it, it's like, okay, now you know that we can do that, and now you have the opportunity to take it out through that that advanced pick and ban system. But so far, it doesn't look like Groot is kind of chasing them down. They're going for some more standard stuff. Again, locking in that Wolverine ban, taking the Loki ban as well. But Luna is going to get played probably on both sides of the board here, as both teams have chosen to save her. So, you know, I see some interesting stuff over on Ascended. Of course, the hover never really tells you what they're really going to pick here, but Rex is hovering Magic, who we haven't really seen a lot out of since like season 0, season 1. Definitely, I've seen a couple people opt for her in competitive lately in season 2. So yeah, I'm curious to see if they're going to keep this off meta stuff rolling and just pick a whole new comp of things that you don't normally see.
Yeah, I mean, Magic's an interesting choice because Hulk ban there, as predicted, makes a lot of sense. But Magic's a really interesting choice because you're right. She was meta season 0, then towards the then season 1. People only realized how good she was towards the latter half of season 1 and how to manipulate her. But she was able to burst damage through enemy support ults. And if you're able to run her, that's another off-meta thing you're doing. That's another way you're really confusing your opponents and making them play in a way they might not be ready for. Both teams having saved Cloak and Dagger, we're potentially going to see both of those supports here, especially with the Loki ban on both teams making a lot of sense. You do not want to have to face 2 Lunar Snow ultimates. And the Johnny Storm ban at the very end, this is really similar picks. This is really similar bans for the teams here. However, Groot FN do have access to Magneto. Oh wait, no, Ascended have access to Magneto, and Groot FN doesn't. That's potentially the biggest weakness in these picks and bans here.
Yeah, interesting enough, I think Groot FN is gonna take a page out of Ascended's book here. 200 MG and Pivor have locked in that team up, the Namor and Hulk. So maybe gonna take advantage of that and kind of send some of it back their way here. But yeah, both teams kind of changing up a lot of their picks here. I see Guardians going for the Phoenix on the side of Groot FN. Lipton's picking up Moon Knight, it looks like, and Rex is taking the Penny. So, you know, a very different map number 2. I feel like the first couple series that were on broadcast today, you know, the teams stayed pretty similar from map to map. They didn't change too much other than a couple of occasions. But now it looks like both teams have totally reevaluated the situation. And, you know, Lipton's cycling through a bunch of different DPSs. Who, at this point, it's probably a shorter list to ask who doesn't Lipton play.
Yeah, honestly, I think the Penny choice isn't to play Penny normally. It's to try get a kill with the mines at the very start.
To stop them from securing the mission area.
And
Oh,
that
the
might
strange
be
portal.
exactly
The
what
strange
they're
portal.
going for with the
Oh,
strange portal. Maybe
no.
not. Oh my god.
That's so worse. That's so much worse. That's really clever.
Yeah, really not a bad start at all. And Groot FN gets first blood off of it too. They take out the Magneto on the side of Ascended, and they're off to the races here. A lot more aggressive start from Groot FN this time, at least for now. So both, you know, dueling Doctor Stranges, and just, man, that portal tech is so deep. It's so much deeper than anybody could have ever guessed when Doctor Strange, you know, first came to the game forever ago. You know, a founding character. So. Yeah, you know, it's just wild. You never know what you're going to see when people lock in Strange at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And Groot FN playing in a way I've never seen any team play on this map. They're just holding this really far back corner of the objective. And it makes sense because you've given your opponent a load of space, yes, but like, it's all out in the open. You've not held the choke point, because the real choke point is the point itself, and Ascended are beginning to take it, and they're making good progress. This is where Groot FN really needed to push instead of just holding on this high ground. It's really put them at a deficit, health-wise, ability-wise, and the amount of players on their team-wise. And Bubble able to save.
Dang,
Punisher,
yeah, Groot
sorry.
FN. Oh, sorry. I think we lost you for a second. Yeah, as you saw there, though, Groot FN just kind of getting wiped out there. Lipton picked up 6 elims, and so did Rex. You know, I think you're right. You know, they needed to kind of just converge and jump in on Ascended. I feel like they just got cold feet a little bit. Maybe were afraid to engage. They weren't sure if they could actually secure it there. But that opens the door wide open for Ascended to just take that first objective, and they're already rolling the payload and picking up even more picks on top of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're seeing this Punisher turret. That's so deadly. That's so frustrating to fight from the perspective of Groot FN now. It's just controlling so much space. It's blocking them pushing almost at all. They do have one person on the objective, which is enough to push it a reasonable amount, although it does go quicker with more people, as we're now seeing Psylocke trying to take this Namor out, clearly not running Namor nearly as well as their opponents could, but still finding some reasonable value out of it.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, what I thought, not a bad start for Groot FN. You know, they picked up that early first blood there with the Doctor Strange portal, but you know, not capitalizing on it too much here. And Ascended is just going to keep the ball rolling here. They take out 200 on the side of Groot FN, and now Groot is letting all of those ults fly. The Phoenix ult doesn't find anybody, and just not a lot of value on those ults there. All resources expended, and Ascended has plenty more to go. Now they're going to pay for it. Rex is throwing down the Cloak and Dagger ult there. Sven still holding on to that Dance of the Butterflies, and Ambitious has a Meteor M ready to go, but they don't even need it. They pick up 2 more picks off of Groot, and Sven finds another kill there on the Psylocke. So he's back on that Psylocke this game as well, and just cooking from start to finish. So again, Ascended really taking control of this thing. They're going to grab this second checkpoint here and just keep things moving.
Yeah, absolutely. This Psylocke getting away with the most ludicrous stuff. They should not have lived that. They're on 14 health, and they're still fighting up front with the rest of their team. And, I mean, it's working. You cannot blame them. Ascended have 4 minutes left on the clock and are at the start of the final point here. Guardian, interestingly, swapping to Bucky. at some point this game, and it's an interesting choice. It's a high CC character, potentially going to do a lot. Silent here on their entire enemy team isn't going to be able to find a kill from that ultimate, but is going to find a lot of potential value in the stalling of the enemy team, the space they created for their own, and the resources used.
Yeah, I mean, that Dance of the Butterfly is not really a clip maker in of itself, but kind of softens up Groot to let the rest of Spin's team kind of come in and clean up there. So again, just this offensive run, I mean, it's hardly been stopped here. The payload has been moving almost since Ascended first unlocked it so quickly there at the start of this game, and it's just like an avalanche of pressure on top of Groot FN. You can see they're kind of just throwing every ult they have just to see what sticks, and Mary Jane throws down the Cloak and Dagger ult, but it's not enough to out-sustain Ascended. Insane damage from them there, finding 5 members of Groot FN. It's basically an ace, and that is a cleared Hall of Djalia for the side of Ascended, and it is a tall order now for Groot FN as the offense goes over to them.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Ascended versus Oblivione on these push maps, because Oblivione are such a good team for stalling the objective when on defense, and Ascended are so good at pushing the point and taking so much space and map control when they're on attack on payload points, that I think they're going to have a really interesting clash and a really big back and forth of one team will gain a lot of forward momentum, and then as soon as they slip up a little bit, it will be completely reversed.
Yeah, it's kind of a dream matchup, right? You know, two teams that I feel like mesh very well and can kind of have this insane battle, and I'm sure we're gonna get that later on down the line. But now a defensive order here for Ascended. They cleared the map, 3 points in their favor and 3 minutes in their time bank, just in case they need it here, in case the defense all falls apart here. But you know, there's a lot of work to be done on the side of Groot FN. Of course, you know, Rivals, this is a game that does not end until you really end it, but you know, just a lot of catching up to do for Groot. It's a big ask for any team in this position, to be totally honest. Even the most seasoned competitive veterans, you know, would have a hard time. So curious to see what they're gonna pull off here. They do have a couple swaps coming in on the side of Groot FN. So again, just trying to just find something that works for them and kind of gets them some momentum in this matchup.
Absolutely. And I mean, Groot FN is clearly showing that they have some really good ideas. They're a clever team, especially that strange portal at the start of last round, able to just basically win an entire fight, waste an enemy cooldown. If you're able to have ideas like that and manipulate games in that way consistently, you can truly break stuff and you can truly become dominant. So they have a real potential there. Strange ult being kicked out onto the point by Emma does manage to escape as Groot FN are pushing from the high ground and Ascended defending from the low ground, but Ascended get to play second here. They get the advantage of being able to finish anything Groot FN does, because they're not going to leave point. Groot FN need to go to the point to be able to take it. Strange trying to contest on the high ground here, will manage to get up, but is going to have a little bit of difficulty moving. As Groot FN, they've managed to cap 2/3 of the objective already, and the Strange Portal will come out. Emma trying to body block, doesn't quite manage to, with the Salad in the backline trying to poke out their opponent, and now Mary Jane from Groot FN trying to just take complete control of the point with that ultimate ability, as Punisher 200 MG coming out, trying to get some damage, trying to get some kills. There is 2 kills on the board for Groot FN now. Ascended looking bad, having lost 2 fights in the span of about 2 minutes there. Now Groot FN really finding how to fight, how to compete against a team like Ascended, who are clearly better on attack than they are on defense.
Yeah, and building up a 4 minute and 30 second time bank there, Groot made it happen in a pretty swift amount of time. You saw they got a couple of picks here and there and kind of made Ascended walk it back, and then finally they locked in like 4 or 5 kills and just took control of the point. So really nice offensive effort there. They're kind of they've got some momentum going now here on map number 2. Looking cleaner here, especially on the defensive half. But Lipton with the final judgment there, knocking out a few members of Groot FN. Ascended looking to take control back of this match. They said, you guys have had enough. You know, we need to be in control here once again. And Sovio there using the fate of both worlds to keep them alive against Groot FN. And as you can see, you know, numbers definitely favoring Ascended so far. Groot still got some catching up to do here, but not bad for the first point at all here. Definitely showing that Groot FN's got some stuff in the back pocket still.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ascended is clearly trying to hold Groot FN here. Groot FN pushes up as far as they can. Punisher at 161 health left. Silent from Ascended, clearly trying to use that ult here. Mary Jane already popping their ult, but again, they really get that cloak and dagger off cooldown so quickly. They're so good at exploiting and using that ult so quickly. And Silent coming out here, managing to find 4 kills. That is a really, really good play by Ascended. They figured out how to hold their opponents here at the start of the second point.
Yeah, and Spinned with some more inhuman numbers for you there. 23-3 with 11 of those being final hits so far, and Ascended's kind of taking control of this match slowly but surely. I feel like a problem Finn is having is they're kind of using these ults very quickly. I mean, almost as soon as they're charged, they're letting them fly. And, you know, there is kind of an ebb and flow to this game and to these matches, and sometimes you kind of have to hold those ults. You know, Mary Jane got that cloak and dagger almost immediately, laid it down with no real follow-up, and now it's given Ascended the opportunity to start picking up some kills and start wasting Groot FN's time as they're under 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and, you know, they got out there about halfway to that first checkpoint, but they haven't really gotten much further than that so far. So still a couple minutes left to go. They've got time to regroup and maybe reevaluate, but they're going to have to start making some stuff happen here if they want to hang in there. Of course, Ascended picked up map number 1, so this is match point for them. So Groot FN does not want to throw in the towel on this one just yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ascended are doing such a good job at winning every fight whilst balancing their ult economy. Because it only takes a little bit of a slip up to start losing that value, and suddenly Groot FN have taken way more space than you want them to, but being able to balance that as ult economy so precisely, so cleanly between the 6 of you is so incredible, especially when you consider that they have to be ult stacking every point of this game. The Cloak and Dagger ult will be coming out, trying to take space with that Strange ult, and the Punisher ult will come out onto their opponent, trying to find a kill, trying to find damage. Magneto ult is going to manage to dunk on them, as this is just cleanup for Ascended now. They've still got 3 ults in the tank, although so do Groot FN.
Yeah, and the DPS line on the side of Ascended, Lipton and Sven, they're finding kills on alt and off alt. So that gives them those opportunities to hang on to those offensive alts for when there's really an opening. And it feels like Groot FN is using their alts to try and just get into these fights or just try to keep up, whereas Ascended is getting so much value out of them in comparison. And I think that's really where the disparity between these two teams lie now. Just over 30 seconds left to go here. Groot FN maybe one more opportunity to get a team fight going, but they're at least finding some picks, or they do finally put an end to Lipton's reign of terror there, knocking him out, sending him back to spawn. Groot FN looking a little bit low here, but they at least have 3 ults and maybe a 4th one ready to go there. But Guardian's gonna let the dance of the butterflies fly here, followed up by a psionic seduction from Anomalous. So looking to try and put a dent in Ascended's defense here as time ticks down. 10 seconds left to go, so maybe just one opportunity left to make a play here for Groot FN.
Yeah, absolutely. Groot FN need to do so much here. The fate of Cloak and Dagger coming out here, trying to force that opponent back as Ascended respond with their own Cloak and Dagger ult, and Strange ult does go out. It gets stunned by Emma. That's going to give them such an advantage in the rest of this fight. I don't think they even have Strange ult online. They might be able to. They might be able to touch with it, but looking at the timer, that's just not going to happen. Ascended have won this best of 3.
Yeah, in a very convincing fashion too, 3-1 on that second map, and they're the first shutout of the EMEA Ascension series so far. And yeah, again, like I said, a team named Ascended in the Ascension League, makes sense, fits. But Rex is picking up the MVP on the Cloak and Dagger, 32-1 overall on that map, and Ascended will walk away with a pretty big win here in week number 1. Tail of the tape, taking a look at the numbers here, single digits elims down the line for Groot FN. Unfortunately in this matchup, Guardians their SVP, but Sven showing what Psylocke is truly capable of. 34 elims and 16 final hits will wrap up the third and final series of the day for a win for Ascended. So Groot FN, still several weeks of play left to go, lots of opportunities to get some more experience, try some new stuff for them, but today at least it belongs to Ascended.
Yeah, absolutely. That is 3 incredible games or matches so far between 6 brilliant teams. We've seen a full display of the range of skill in this tournament, and I gotta say, everyone's doing great so far. I would not want to face any of these teams in my public games, but I am so excited to see what the rest of this tournament has to offer. I believe that we are back tomorrow at the same time as today with some more games for y'all in the preliminary matches. Then next week and over the next couple of weeks, we are also coming back. We have the America. I'll let you talk about it if you want.
Yeah, I got an NA guy. Woo. So of course, we're wrapping up for Ascension EMEA for today. We'll be back in action. Same time tomorrow. Some big matchups on the card there for tomorrow. Insomnia Esports, Ignite Stage 1 competitor, is in action right off the bat. Groot FN takes on Oblivione. And I believe PCS Xiong takes on Dawncore. So big matchups tomorrow. But later, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Americas teams are here and they are in action for the second season. So some familiar names there. We'll see some teams like MRC Season 2, NA champions Cafe Noir in action. Runners up from last season of Ascension, Necospresso are here. A big lineup of teams over there as well. But Zeus, it was great to be with you today. Some really great matches. Glad we got to put those out there for everybody to see just how powerful EMEA really is as a region.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see what the rest of this has to offer. I believe we also have the Latin America scene being one of the first sole dedicated tournaments for that region from the Rivals Ascension League coming up over the next few weeks and months. It's after this tournament, but be sure to stay tuned in the future. Keep your finger on the pulse, and I believe that is us for the day. I've been Zeus, this has been Diatonic, and you have all been lovely.
The suppression, the use of marijuana.